Prologue. It all started with Derek Ashclaw. He walked past, a golden god in a varsity jacket, his scent like warm honey in summer. My heart did that pathetic, fluttering thing it always did. Don't choke on your own drool, Moonridge. It's a bad look for a girl trying to play alpha. The voice was like a blade dragged over silk. I didn't even have to turn around to feel the temperature drop. Rowan Ashclaw, the alpha's heir, the school's king, and the bane of my existence since we were 5 years old. He leaned against his blacked-out SUV, looking every bit the ruthless predator he was born to be. Every girl in the vicinity was watching him, breathless, praying for a glance. He only had eyes for me. Cold, mocking, golden eyes. Go find a fire hydrant to pester, Rowan. I snapped, my inner wolf baring its teeth. Some of us actually have a future to plan. Not all of us can live off daddy's silver spoons and a trail of broken hearts. Rowan straightened, his large frame casting a shadow that swallowed me whole. He stepped into my space, violating every boundary of wolf etiquette. He smelled of cedarwood, rain, and something darker. Something that made my skin prickle with an electric current I refused to acknowledge. You're staring at my brother again, he hissed, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous vibration. It's embarrassing. He doesn't see you, Sky. To him, you're just a stray from a dying pack. He's twice the man you'll ever be. I spat, stepping closer until our chests almost touched. At least he has a heart. You just use people until there's nothing left. Rowan's hand went to his pocket, his fingers curling around a small object he always seemed to be fiddling with. His jaw tightened, a muscle leaping in his cheek. For a split second, the mask of the ruthless prince slipped, revealing a flash of raw, jagged hunger that terrified me. Careful, Moonridge, he whispered, leaning down so his breath fanned my neck. You keep challenging me, and I might just decide to show you exactly how heartless I can be. He turned on his heel and walked away without a second glance at the girls trailing after him. I stood there, trembling with a mix of rage and a strange, cold dread. I hated him. I'd hated him since the day he threw my favorite toy into the mud and laughed while I cried. He was my arch enemy, my rival, and the one person who could see right through my bravado. I thought I knew exactly how our story ended, with me finding a way to Derek, and Rowan fading into the background of my life. I had no idea that in just 24 hours, a desperate situation would force me to strike a deal with the devil himself. And that this time, Rowan Ashclaw wouldn't just ruin my toys. He was coming for my soul. Chapter 1. The tutoring assignment. The scent of pine and autumn. Leaves filled my lungs as I walked through Silverwood High's parking lot, my wolf stirring restlessly beneath my skin. Being a female alpha at 17 wasn't easy, especially when you were responsible for a pack of 12 that included your widowed mother and younger siblings. Every decision I made carried weight. Every weakness could be exploited. And right now, I was being forced into my worst nightmare. Miss Moonridge, a word. Principal Hartwick's voice had cut through my last period like a blade. My stomach had dropped immediately. Nothing good ever came from being called to the principal's office. Now, clutching the assignment sheet in my hand, I wanted to crumple it into a ball and set it on fire. Instead, I took a deep breath and reread the words that would define my next few months' mandatory tutoring assignment. Rowan Ashclaw, Chemistry and Calculus. Sessions to begin immediately. Failure to comply will result in the loss of your academic scholarship. Rowan. Fucking. Ashclaw. My nemesis since kindergarten. The boy who had thrown my beloved stuffed bunny, Mr. Hopsworth, into a muddy puddle just because he could. I'd cried for hours, and even though Derek, Rowan's older brother and the actual love of my life, had tried to fish it out, The bunny had been ruined beyond repair. Mom had gotten me a small bunny keyring as a replacement, which I'd treasured for exactly 2 weeks before it mysteriously disappeared. I'd always suspected Rowan had stolen it, but I could never prove it. Since that day, we'd been locked in an endless war of insults and glares. If he walked into a room, I walked out. If I was talking, he'd interrupt with some sarcastic comment. We were oil and water, fire and ice. And now I was supposed to spend my afternoons tutoring him. The universe had a sick sense of humor. I shoved the paper into my backpack and headed toward the student parking lot, where my beat-up Honda Civic waited. It wasn't much. Nothing compared to the luxury vehicles the Ashclaw family drove. But it was mine, paid for with money I'd earned working double shifts at the diner. Sky! Wait up! I turned to see my best friend, Mara, jogging toward me, her dark curls bouncing. She was human, one of the few who knew about our supernatural world, and she'd been my rock since middle school. You look like someone just told you Christmas is canceled, she said, falling into step beside me. Worse. I have to tutor Rowan Ashclaw. Mara's eyes widened. No. The Rowan Ashclaw. Your mortal enemy, Rowan Ashclaw. The very same. I unlocked my car with more force than necessary. Principal Hartwick says if I don't do it, I lose my scholarship. Which means no college. Which means no future for my pack. That's blackmail. Mara protested. That's life when you're a small pack alpha with no political power. I slid into the driver's seat, and Mara climbed in beside me. The Ashclaws probably requested me specifically just to torture me. Or maybe Rowan actually needs help, I snorted. Please. That arrogant ass doesn't need help with anything. He's probably doing this just to make my life miserable. As if summoned by my words, a sleek black Mercedes pulled up beside us. Through the tinted window, I caught a glimpse of sharp cheekbones, dark hair that looked perpetually tousled in that infuriatingly perfect way, and eyes the color of amber that seemed to glow even in daylight. Rowan Ashclaw, in all his insufferable glory. Our eyes met for a brief second, and I saw the corner of his mouth twitch up in that smirk I'd grown to hate. Then he was gone, the Mercedes purring out of the parking lot like a predator on the hunt. On the bright side, Mara said carefully, you'll be going to his house, right? Which means you might see Derek. My heart did a little flip at the mention of Derek's name. Derek Ashclaw, Rowan's older brother by 2 years, was everything Rowan wasn't. Kind, gentle, always ready with a smile. He'd graduated last year and was taking a gap year before college, supposedly helping with the family business. I'd been in love with him since he'd rescued Mr. Hopsworth from that puddle. Even though the effort had been futile, he barely knew I existed. Our interactions consisted of me squeaking out a shy, "He?" whenever I saw him and him giving me a polite nod in return. But maybe, just maybe, this tutoring assignment was a blessing in disguise. You're right, I said, feeling a smile creep onto my face. I'll be at the Ashclaw mansion. Which means I'll see Derek. Often, Mara grinned. No, you're thinking positive. Who knows? Maybe you'll actually get to have a conversation with him that lasts longer than 5 seconds. Maybe, I said dreamily. Already imagining scenarios where Derek would notice me, really notice me, and realize I was the girl he'd been waiting for all along. My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. Tutoring starts tomorrow. 4 p.m. Don't be late, Moonridge. I stared at the message, my good mood evaporating. Let me guess, Mara said. Prince Charming? More like the demon spawn. I showed her the text. How did he even get my number? He's Rowan Ashclaw. He probably has everyone's number. I typed back quickly, I'll be there. Try not to be too insufferable. His response was immediate, no promises. Little Alpha. I hated that nickname. Hated how he said it with just enough mockery to make my blood boil, but not enough to justify actual anger. Hated how he'd been calling me that since we were kids, after he'd overheard my mom explaining that I'd inherit the alpha position. "This is going to be hell," I muttered. "Or," Mara said with a knowing look, "that might be exactly what you need." I had no idea how prophetic those words would turn out to be. The next afternoon, I stood in front of the Ashclaw mansion, trying to calm my racing heart. The building was massive, all stone and glass, nestled in the woods on the edge of Silverwood. It screamed wealth and power, everything my small pack wasn't. I dressed carefully, jeans and a simple sweater. Nothing too fancy, but not too casual either. My long dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail, and I'd even dabbed on some lip gloss, just in case I ran into Derek. Taking a deep breath, I rang the doorbell. The door swung open almost immediately, but it wasn't Derek or even Rowan. It was a woman I recognized as Mrs. Ashclaw, Rowan and Derek's mother. She was elegant and poised, with the same amber eyes as her son's. "You must be Skye," she said warmly. "Please, come in. Rowan is expecting you in his study." "Thank you, Mrs. Ashclaw," I said politely, stepping into the foyer. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and artwork that probably cost more than my car lined the walls. "Call me Diana, dear. Can I get you anything? Water? Tea?" "I'm fine, thank you." She smiled and gestured toward a hallway to the right. "Second door on the left. And Skye. Thank you for doing this. Rowan can be difficult, but I think you're exactly what he needs." I wasn't sure what to make of that comment, so I just nodded and headed down the hallway. My wolf was on alert, sensing other pack members nearby. The Ashclaw pack was one of the largest and most powerful in the region, and I was walking right into their den. The study door was open. I could see Rowan sprawled in a leather chair, his long legs stretched out, one hand holding a phone, the other tapping absently on the armrest. He was dressed casually, dark jeans and a gray tee, shirt that hugged his lean, muscular frame in a way that was definitely not fair. I knocked on the doorframe. He looked up, and for a moment, something flickered in those amber eyes. Then his usual mask of cool indifference slid into place. "Moonridge. Right on time? I'm impressed. Let's just get this over with," I said, stepping into the room. "The sooner you pass your classes, the sooner we never have to speak again." And here I thought we were going to bond over chemistry. He smirked at his own joke. "The only chemistry between us is the kind that creates explosions." I shot back, dropping my backpack on his desk. That could be interesting. I ignored the way his voice seemed to drop lower on those words and pulled out my textbooks. "Okay, Ashclaw, show me what you're working on. For the next hour." I tried to focus on explaining molecular bonds and stoichiometry, but it was hard when I kept catching whiffs of his scent. Pine and something darker, like smoke and spice. It was distracting in a way I didn't want to analyze. Rowan, for his part, seemed barely interested. He'd nod occasionally, scribble something in his notebook, but mostly he just watched me with those unnerving amber eyes. "Are you even paying attention?" I finally snapped. To every word, little Alpha. He leaned back in his chair. "Did you know you bite your lip when you're concentrating?" Heat crept up my neck. "That's not relevant to chemistry." "No, but it's relevant to you. This isn't about me. It's about you passing your classes." "Is it?" He tilted his head, studying me. "Or is it about you keeping your scholarship?" Low blow. I gathered my books. "You know what? I don't need this. Find someone else to tutor you. Skye, wait." I froze. He'd never called me by my first name before. It was always Moonridge or Little Alpha. I turned slowly. Rowan was standing now, and something in his expression had shifted. The mockery was gone, replaced by something I couldn't quite read. I'm sorry, he said quietly. That was uncalled for. Please stay. An apology from Rowan Ashclaw. The world must be ending. Fine, I said warily, sitting back down. But can you actually try to learn something? I'll try. He sat across from me again, and this time, when I explained the concept, he actually seemed to engage. We worked in silence for another 30 minutes. I was so focused on a particularly tricky calculus problem that I didn't hear the door open. Rowan, Mom wanted to know if... Oh, hi, Sky. My head snapped up so fast I nearly gave myself whiplash. Derek Ashclaw stood in the doorway, looking impossibly handsome in a button-down shirt and khakis. His sandy hair was perfectly styled, and when he smiled at me, I forgot how to breathe. Hi, I managed to squeak. I didn't know you were tutoring Rowan, Derek said, stepping into the room. Why, yeah, started today. God. Why couldn't I form complete sentences around him? That's great. Maybe you can finally get through to him. Derek shot his brother an affectionate grin. Mom needs you for something about the pack meeting tonight. Rowan's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. I'll be there in a minute. Sure. Nice seeing you. Sky? Derek gave me another smile. That smile that made my stomach flutter, and left. The moment he was gone, I realized I was grinning like an idiot. You like him. Rowan's voice was flat, emotionless. I looked over to find him staring at me with an expression I couldn't decipher. What? My brother. You like him. There was no point denying it. So what if I do? So nothing. He closed his textbook with more force than necessary. We're done for today, but we still have... I said we're done, Moonridge. The walls were back up, higher than before. Whatever moment we'd shared, if we'd shared anything at all, was gone. I packed my things in silence and left without another word. As I drove home, I couldn't shake the image of Rowan's face when I'd smiled at Derek. For just a second, he'd looked almost hurt. But that was ridiculous. Rowan Ashclaw didn't have feelings. Especially not about me. Chapter 2, Unexpected Proposals. The next few tutoring sessions followed a similar pattern. I'd arrive at the Ashclaw mansion at 4 o'clock sharp, my heart secretly hoping for a glimpse of Derek. Sometimes I'd get lucky and see him in the hallway or the kitchen, and we'd exchange awkward hellos that left me giddy for hours. But most of my time was spent with Rowan, surrounded by textbooks and the growing tension that seemed to thicken the air between us whenever we were alone. He was different during our sessions. Less combative, more focused. Sometimes I'd catch him staring at me with an intensity that made my wolf stir uncomfortably. But the moment I'd meet his eyes, he'd look away and make some sarcastic comment that reminded me exactly why I couldn't stand him. It was Friday, 2 weeks into our tutoring arrangement, when everything changed. You're getting better at this, I said, checking over the calculus problems he'd just completed. Only 2 mistakes this time. Maybe you're just a good teacher, Rowan said, leaning back in his chair. I looked up, surprised. Was that almost a compliment, Ashclaw? Don't let it go to your head, Moonridge. But there was no bite in his words. I was about to respond when I heard voices in the hallway. My wolf perked up immediately, recognizing Derek's warm baritone among them. Then I heard something else, a feminine laugh, light and flirtatious. Before I could stop myself, I stood and moved toward the door, which was slightly ajar. Dinner sounds perfect, the female voice was saying. I've been wanting to try that new Italian place downtown. You'll love it, Derek replied. I'll pick you up at 7. It's a date. My heart plummeted into my stomach. A date. Derek had a date. I backed away from the door, feeling stupid for eavesdropping. Even more stupid for the tears pricking at my eyes. Of course, Derek was dating someone. He was Derek Ashclaw, handsome, kind from one of the most powerful packs in the region. Why would he ever look at me? The alpha of a struggling pack who could barely make rent some months. Sky. I'd forgotten Rowan was there. When I turned, he was watching me with an unreadable expression. I'm fine, I said quickly, blinking back the tears. Let's just get back to. You're crying. I'm not crying. But my voice cracked on the last word, betraying me. Rowan stood slowly, moving toward me with the fluid grace of a predator. It's Derek, isn't it? You heard him with that girl. It doesn't matter, I said, gathering my books with shaking hands. It's none of my business who he dates. Sky. His hand caught my wrist, gentle but firm. Look at me. I didn't want to. Didn't want him to see how pathetic I was, crying over a boy who barely knew I existed. But something in his voice made me raise my eyes to his. Up close. Rowan was devastatingly beautiful. Sharp jawline, high cheekbones, those amber eyes that seemed to see right through me. For the first time, I noticed a small scar above his left eyebrow, probably from some childhood accident. Derek's an idiot, Rowan said quietly. I let out a watery laugh. He's your brother. Doesn't make it less true. His thumb traced a small circle on the inside of my wrist, and I felt a jolt of electricity shoot through me. My wolf immediately perked up, interested in a way that made no sense. I pulled my hand away, disturbed by my reaction. I should go. Wait. Rowan ran a hand through his dark hair, looking almost uncertain, an expression I'd never seen on him before. I have an idea. It might sound crazy, but hear me out. What kind of idea? I asked warily. You like Derek, right? I bristled. I don't see how that's. Just answer the question, Sky. There was that first name again, spoken in that low voice that did strange things to my pulse. Yes, I admitted. I've liked him since kindergarten. Happy. And he doesn't notice you because he sees you as his little brother's tutor. A kid. That stung, but it was probably true. Your point? Rowan's eyes gleamed with something dangerous. What if we make him notice you? How? By making him jealous. He stepped closer. People always want what they think they can't have. If Derek saw you with someone else, someone he knew, it might make him realize what he's missing. I frowned. You want me to get a fake boyfriend? Exactly. My mind was already racing. It was manipulative, sure, but was it really so different from wearing makeup or a nice dress to get someone's attention? And if it worked? Who would I even ask? I said, thinking out loud. Maybe Jackson from the football team? He's popular. Or there's Tyler. He's always been nice to me. Jackson is dating Melissa. Everyone knows that, Rowan said dismissively. And Tyler has the personality of a wet blanket. Okay, then who would you suggest? He was quiet for a moment, and when he spoke, his voice was carefully casual. Me. I stared at him. You. Think about it. I'm Derek's brother. That alone would get his attention. I'm also, he gestured vaguely at himself, not exactly unpopular. If we were dating, everyone would notice, including Derek. That's insane, I said. But even as the words left my mouth, I was considering it. Isaac, you need Derek to see you as more than just some girl who tutors his brother. I need to get the parade of girls who follow me around to back off. We help each other? Why do you need to get girls to back off? I couldn't help asking. I thought you enjoyed the attention. Something dark crossed his face. You don't know anything about what I enjoy, Sky. The way he said my name sent shivers down my spine. I wrapped my arms around myself, thinking it was crazy, completely, utterly insane. Pretending to date Rowan Ashclaw, my sworn enemy since kindergarten. The boy who made my blood boil on a daily basis. But also, it might work. There would have to be rules, I said slowly. Rowan's eyes lit up. Of course. This is purely fake. Temporary. We pretend to date until prom. That gives us about 3 months. By then, hopefully Derek will notice me and ask me to be his date. And I'll be free of my stalkers. Rowan agreed. No real emotions. No actual relationship stuff when we're alone. Agreed. But something flickered in his expression. Though we'll have to be convincing in public. Hand-holding. Maybe sitting together at lunch. My wolf stirred at the thought of touching him, which was weird. I pushed the feeling down. Fine. But nothing more than that. Sky, if we're going to make this believable, people need to think we're actually together. That means acting like a couple. I know how couples act, I said defensively. He raised an eyebrow. Do you? What's that supposed to mean? It means, he said, moving closer, that if people at school think we're dating, they're going to expect to see us kiss. My face heated. Absolutely not. Why not? Because I struggled to find words. Because I don't want to kiss you, Ashclaw. And besides, I was hoping my first kiss would be with someone special. His expression shifted, something almost painful crossing his features before his usual mask slammed back into place. Let me guess. Derek. I didn't answer, which was answer enough. Fine, he said curtly. No kissing. But everything else is on the table. We hold hands. I put my arm around you. We look at each other like we're madly in love. Can you handle that? Could I? The thought of being that close to Rowan. Of pretending to care about him when we'd spent years hating each other seemed impossible. But then I thought of Derek, of the way my heart raced when he smiled at me, of the possibility that this crazy plan might actually work. I can handle it if you can, I said, lifting my chin. Then we have a deal. He extended his hand. Partners. I stared at his hand for a long moment. This was it. The point of no return. If I shook his hand, I'd be committing to 3 months of pretending to be Rowan Ashclaw's girlfriend. The thought should have horrified me. Instead, I felt a strange thrill of anticipation. I reached out and clasped his hand. Partners. The moment our skin touched, everything changed. A jolt of pure electricity shot through me, so powerful that I gasped. My wolf surged to the surface, awakening with a force I'd never experienced before. Every nerve ending came alive, hyper-aware of exactly where Rowan's palm pressed against mine, where his fingers curled around my hand, and his scent. God, his scent hit me like a physical force. Pine and smoke and something uniquely him, something that made my wolf want to roll over and purr. Rowan's eyes had gone wide, his pupils dilating until there was barely any amber left. His grip on my hand tightened, and I heard his sharp intake of breath. Sky, he breathed, his voice rough. Do you feel? No, I lied, yanking my hand away. My palm was tingling, my entire body humming with an energy I didn't understand and didn't want to acknowledge. I don't feel anything. But we both knew that was a lie. Because what we just felt, what had passed between us with that simple touch, was unmistakable to any werewolf. It was the beginning of a mate bond. This doesn't change anything, I said quickly, backing toward the door. It's just weird wolf stuff. It doesn't mean anything. Sky, I'll see you Monday, I interrupted. We can start the whole fake dating thing then. At school. Where everyone can see. I practically ran from the study, from the mansion, from the confusion and heat that still pulsed through my veins. As I drove home, my hands shaking on the steering wheel, I told myself it meant nothing. Mate bonds didn't just appear out of nowhere. They developed over time, between wolves who actually liked each other. Rowan and I hated each other. This was just a weird physical reaction. Maybe because we'd be spending more time together. Maybe because my wolf was confused about the fake relationship. It didn't mean anything. It couldn't mean anything. Because I was in love with Derek, and this was all just pretend. I repeated that to myself all weekend, trying to convince my wolf and myself that what I'd felt was nothing. But deep down, in a place I didn't want to examine too closely, I knew the truth. Everything had just gotten a lot more complicated. Monday morning arrived too quickly. I stood in front of my closet, staring at my meager selection of clothes with growing panic. "You're overthinking this," Mara said from her perch on my bed. I'd called her Sunday night and told her everything. Well, almost everything. I'd left out the part about the mate bond. That was too confusing to explain when I didn't understand it myself. "What if people don't believe it?" I asked, pulling out a sweater and then putting it back. "What if they think it's a joke? Sky, you're fake dating the most popular guy in school. Trust me, people will believe it. They'll probably be shocked, but they'll believe it." That's what I'm afraid of. I finally settled on dark jeans and a fitted burgundy top that Mara had insisted I buy last month. "Everyone's going to think I'm insane. Or they'll think you're the luckiest girl alive." Mara grinned. "Come on, admit it. Rowan Ashclaw is objectively gorgeous. He's also objectively the worst." I muttered, but there was no heat in my words. The truth was, ever since Friday, I'd been unable to stop thinking about him. About the feel of his hand in mine, the intensity in his eyes, the way he'd looked at me like I was the only person in the world. It was just the bond, I told myself. Just weird mate bond stuff that would fade once we ended this charade. "You ready?" Mara asked. "No." "Wes." We drove to school together, and with every mile, my anxiety grew. By the time we pulled into the parking lot, my hands were clammy and my wolf was pacing restlessly. "There he is," Mara said, nodding toward the far end of the lot. Rowan was leaning against his Mercedes, surrounded by his usual crowd of admirers. 3 girls were practically draped over him, giggling at something he'd said. He looked completely unbothered, that trademark smirk playing on his lips. "God, he really does need you to get rid of his fan club," Mara observed. As if sensing my presence, Rowan's head turned. Our eyes met across the parking lot, and I saw something flash in his gaze. He said something to the girls, who immediately looked disappointed, and then he was moving toward me with that predatory grace that made people instinctively step aside. "Here we go," I muttered. "Good luck?" Mara whispered. "I'll be watching from a safe distance." Rowan reached me just as I was getting out of my car. Up close, he was even more devastating than I remembered. Dark jeans, a black Henley that hugged his lean muscles, and those amber eyes that seemed to glow in the morning light. "Morning, little Alpha," he said, but his voice was softer than usual, almost gentle. "Don't call me that," I replied automatically. "What should I call you then?" "Girlfriend." The corner of his mouth quirked up. "Sky is fine." I closed my car door, very aware that people were starting to stare. "So how do we do this?" "Like this." Before I could process what was happening, Rowan reached out and took my hand. The same electric shock from Friday coursed through me, making my breath catch. His fingers intertwined with mine, and I felt the mate bond pulse between us, warm and insistent. "Breathe," Rowan murmured, so quietly that only I could hear. "Just follow my lead." He started walking toward the school entrance, keeping my hand firmly in his. I had no choice but to follow, hyper-aware of every point where our skin touched, of the whispers that erupted around us. "Oh my God, is that Sky Moonridge? Are they holding hands? Since when is Rowan dating her?" I thought he was with Madison. The voices swirled around us, but Rowan seemed completely unfazed. He kept walking, his thumb tracing small circles on the back of my hand that were absolutely not helping my concentration. "Rowan," one of the girls from his fan club, a blonde named Ashley, rushed up to us. What's going on? Who is she? Ashley, this is Sky, Rowan said calmly. My girlfriend. The word sent a thrill through me that I definitely shouldn't be feeling. Ashley's face fell. Your girlfriend? But I thought. You thought wrong. His voice was polite but firm. Now, if you'll excuse us. He maneuvered us around her, heading into the school. More stares, more whispers. I felt like I was in a fishbowl, every eye tracking our movement. Is it always like this for you? I asked quietly. Like what? Everyone staring. Everyone watching your every move. Rowan glanced down at me, something unreadable in his expression. You get used to it. Besides, I'm not the one they're staring at right now. You are. He was right. I could feel the weight of dozens of gazes, most of them female, all of them shocked or angry or confused. We reached my locker, and Rowan leaned against the one next to it, still holding my hand. This close, I could smell his scent again, and my wolf practically whimpered with pleasure. This was going to be harder than I thought. So what's the plan for today? I asked, trying to focus on anything other than how good he smelled. We act like a couple. I walk you to your classes, we sit together at lunch. And everyone gets the message. He paused. Are you okay with this? Was I? My hand was still in his, the bond humming between us like a living thing. Every instinct was telling me to move closer, to lean into him. 2. I'm fine, I lied. His eyes narrowed slightly, like he could sense the lie, but he didn't call me on it. Instead, he reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, his fingers grazing my cheek. The touch sent sparks dancing across my skin. What are you doing? I whispered. Selling it, he murmured back. But the look in his eyes was anything but fake. The first bell rang, breaking the moment. Rowan stepped back, though he kept hold of my hand. What's your first class? English. Room 224. I'll walk you. You don't have to. Sky. He squeezed my hand gently. We're doing this, remember? Might as well commit. He was right. If we were going to make this believable, we needed to go all in. So I let him walk me to English, very aware of every eye that followed us. Let him lean down and whisper, "See you at lunch," in a way that made my stomach flip. Let him look at me like I was something precious before he walked away, and tried very hard to ignore the part of me that wished it was all real. Chapter 3. The performance begins. You're absolutely right. Let me clarify Derek's situation going forward. He's taking classes at the local community college, but still lives at home and frequently visits the high school. He graduated last year but is around often. For this story to work better, let me adjust. Derek is actually a senior at Silverwood High. He's 1 year older than Rowan, not 2. This way he's present to witness everything. By lunchtime, the entire school was buzzing about Rowan Ashclaw's new girlfriend. I'd endured 4 classes of whispers, stares, and pointed questions from classmates I'd never spoken to before. Apparently, dating Rowan made me instantly interesting to people who'd previously looked right through me. Is it true? A girl named Sophie had cornered me after chemistry. You and Rowan? Yes. But how? When? Why? She'd looked genuinely baffled, like the concept of Rowan dating me specifically defied the laws of physics. I couldn't exactly blame her. Even I found it hard to believe, and I was living it. Now I stood at the entrance to the cafeteria, searching for Mara's familiar face in the crowd. Instead, my eyes landed on Rowan. He was at his usual table near the windows. Surrounded by the popular crowd, football players, cheerleaders, the children of the most powerful pack families in Silverwood. And sitting right next to him, laughing at something one of the guys had said, was Derek. My heart did its customary flip at the sight of him. Derek was wearing a blue button, down that brought out his eyes, his sandy hair falling perfectly across his forehead. He looked relaxed, happy, completely unaware that I existed. Yet, as if sensing my gaze, Rowan looked up. Our eyes met across the cafeteria, and he raised an eyebrow in silent question. When I hesitated, he stood and started walking toward me. The cafeteria went quiet. "There you are," Rowan said when he reached me, his voice carrying just enough to be overheard. I was wondering where my girl had gone. My girl. The words sent an unwanted thrill through me. "I was just looking for Mara," I said. "She can sit with us." He held out his hand, and after a moment's hesitation, I took it. The now familiar spark of electricity jumped between us, and I saw Rowan's eyes darken slightly. He felt it too, every time. The mate bond was getting stronger, not weaker, and I had no idea what to do about that. He led me back to his table, where every single person was staring at us with varying degrees of shock. "Everyone, you know Sky?" Rowan said casually. Like bringing me to sit with the popular crowd was the most natural thing in the world. "Sky, you obviously know everyone." I didn't, actually. I knew their names and faces, but I'd never spoken to most of them. "Hey, Sky," said Marcus, one of the football players. He looked amused. "Didn't know you and Rowan were a thing." "It's recent," I managed, very aware that Derek was watching me now, his expression confused. "Very recent," added Chelsea, a cheerleader who'd been not, so subtly pursuing Rowan for months. Her smile was sharp, like suspiciously recent. "Not that it's any of your business, Chelsea," Rowan said coolly, pulling out a chair for me. "But Sky and I have been circling each other for a while. We just decided to stop pretending." The lie came so smoothly, so convincingly, that I almost believed it myself. I sat, and Rowan settled into the chair next to me, immediately draping his arm across the back of my seat. His fingers played with the ends of my hair, a casual gesture that looked completely natural but sent shivers down my spine. "Sky, right?" Derek spoke for the first time, leaning forward. "You're the one tutoring Rowan." Finally. He was actually talking to me, really talking to me, and I could barely form words. "Why, yes. Yeah, I am, tutoring him." God, could I sound any more pathetic? Derek's smile was kind. "That's great. Maybe you can finally get him to care about his grades." He shot his brother a teasing look. "Mum's been on his case for months." "Sky's an excellent tutor," Rowan said, his fingers still playing with my hair. "Very thorough." There was something in his tone that made Chelsea's eyes narrow and Marcus smirk. "So how did this happen?" Another girl, I think her name was Madison, asked, gesturing between us. "You two have always hated each other." "There's a thin line between love and hate," Rowan said smoothly. His hand moved from my hair to my shoulder, his thumb tracing lazy circles that were absolutely destroying my concentration. "Sometimes you just need the right moment to cross it." "And what was your moment?" Chelsea pressed, clearly not ready to accept this. I opened my mouth, having no idea what to say, but Rowan beat me to it. "She was tutoring me last week," he said, looking at me with an expression that seemed almost genuine. "She got frustrated because I wasn't paying attention, and she called me an arrogant, insufferable ass who wouldn't know effort if it bit him." Several people laughed. That did sound like something I'd say. "And," Marcus prompted. And I realized she was right. Rowan continued, still holding my gaze. I also realized she was the only person who'd ever been that honest with me. No sugarcoating, no trying to impress me. Just the truth. He paused. "It was refreshing. She's refreshing." My breath caught. The way he was looking at me, the softness in his voice. If I didn't know better, I'd think he actually meant it. "That's actually kind of sweet," Madison said, sounding surprised. Derek was still watching us, his expression thoughtful. "I didn't know you two even talked outside of tutoring." We didn't much, I said, finally finding my voice. But spending that much time together, you start to see past the surface stuff. The bickering was just foreplay, Rowan added with a smirk. Rowan. I smacked his arm without thinking, and he caught my hand, lacing his fingers through mine. The spark jumped between us again, stronger this time. My wolf surged forward, and I had to fight to keep her contained. This close to Rowan. Breathing in his scent, feeling the warmth of his skin against mine, it was getting harder to remember why this was supposed to be fake. Sorry, he murmured, but he didn't look sorry at all. Couldn't resist. Mara appeared then, sliding into the seat on my other side with wide eyes that clearly said we need to talk later. Hey, Mara, Rowan said easily. Want to sit with us? Sure, Mara said, looking between us. Thanks. The conversation shifted to other topics, some football game, weekend plans, typical high school stuff. But I barely heard any of it. I was too aware of Rowan beside me, his hand still holding mine under the table, his thumb tracing patterns on my palm that were doing very distracting things to my pulse. And I was aware of Derek, who kept glancing at us with an expression I couldn't quite read. Was it working? Was he noticing me? So, Sky, Derek said during a lull in conversation. I never knew you were interested in Rowan. You always seemed so quiet around the house. She's shy, Rowan said before I could answer. Especially around people she doesn't know well. But once you get to know her, she's fierce. His eyes met mine. It's one of the things I love about her. Love. The word hung in the air between us, heavy with implications. That's sweet, Derek said, but something in his tone had shifted. I'm happy for you guys. He didn't sound entirely happy. He sounded off. Uncertain, maybe. I felt a small flutter of hope. Maybe this crazy plan was actually working. The rest of lunch passed in a blur. Rowan kept up the boyfriend act perfectly. Touching my hand, playing with my hair, looking at me with those intense amber eyes that made my stomach flip. To anyone watching, we looked completely, utterly smitten. The problem was, somewhere along the way, I'd stopped thinking about Derek entirely. All my attention was on Rowan, the timbre of his laugh, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the warmth of his hand in mine. When the bell rang, Rowan walked me to my next class, keeping our fingers intertwined the whole way. You did great, he said when we reached my classroom. Very convincing. So did you, I replied, trying to ignore the way my heart sank at the reminder that this was all an act. He hesitated, looking like he wanted to say something else. Then he seemed to think better of it, and just squeezed my hand before walking away. I watched him go, feeling strangely hollow. Girl, we need to talk. Mara hissed, grabbing my arm. What the hell was that? The hair touching, the hand holding, the way he looked at you. It's just acting, I said weakly. That did not look like acting. That looked like... Like what? Mara studied me carefully. Like you two are actually falling for each other. Don't be ridiculous. We hate each other. Do you, though? Mara asked softly. Because from where I was sitting, it looked like the exact opposite of hate. I didn't have an answer for that. The rest of the week followed the same pattern. Rowan would pick me up from my locker each morning, walk me to my classes, and sit with me at lunch, and generally act like the perfect boyfriend. Every touch, every smile, every whispered comment made the mate bond stronger, until I could feel it humming constantly beneath my skin, a living connection between us. And slowly, I started to notice Derek paying attention. He'd linger when Rowan and I were in the hallway, watching us with that same uncertain expression. He'd ask me questions during lunch about my pack, my interests, things he'd never cared about before. Once, I caught him looking almost jealous when Rowan had pulled me onto his lap during lunch, making everyone laugh. It was working. The plan was actually working. So why did I feel so conflicted about it? Friday afternoon, I was at Rowan's house for our regular tutoring session. We'd fallen into a comfortable routine. I'd arrive. We'd actually study for about an hour. Rowan was improving rapidly, confirming my suspicion that he'd been deliberately underperforming. And then we'd talk about the fake relationship and how to make it more convincing. Except today, Rowan seemed distracted. Earth to Ashclaw, I said, waving my hand in front of his face. You're not even trying to solve this equation. Sorry, he said, blinking. I was thinking about. He set down his pencil, fixing me with those amber eyes. About us, this arrangement. My heart stuttered. What about it? It's working, isn't it? Derek's noticing you. Yeah, I said slowly. He is. He actually talked to me for like 10 minutes yesterday about my pack's territory. It was the longest conversation we've ever had. Something flickered in Rowan's expression. That's good. That's what you wanted, right? What we both wanted. I paused. The girls have been backing off you too, right? Most of them. He ran a hand through his hair. Chelsea's still being stubborn, but overall, yeah, it's working. We sat in silence for a moment. The study felt smaller than usual. The air thick with unspoken words. Sky, I need to tell you something, Rowan said finally. What? He opened his mouth, then closed it. Whatever he'd been about to say, he seemed to think better of it. Never mind. It's not important. Rowan. We should probably talk about prom, he interrupted, his voice carefully neutral. It's 2 months away. We need to make sure Derek asks you before then. Right. Derek. The whole point of this charade? How do we do that? I asked. We make him realize what he's missing. Make him see that you're not just some girl who tutors his brother. Rowan leaned back in his chair, studying me. We need to up the ante. What do you mean? I mean, he said slowly, we need to make this more real, more physical. My pulse jumped. Physical how? Nothing you're not comfortable with, he said quickly. But couples touch each other, Sky. More than just hand-holding. If we want Derek to believe this, to get jealous enough to make a move, we need to look like we can't keep our hands off each other. The thought of being that close to Rowan, of touching him more than we already did, sent heat flooding through me. Like what? I managed. I could put my arm around your waist, pull you close during lunch. Maybe, he hesitated. Maybe rest my forehead against yours sometimes. That thing couples do when they're in their own world. Everything he was describing sounded intimate, romantic, real, and terrifying. Okay, I heard myself say. We can try that. You're sure? No. Yes. Rowan nodded slowly, then stood and moved around the desk to where I sat. My breath caught as he crouched in front of my chair, bringing us eye level. We should probably practice, he said softly. So it looks natural at school. Practice. The touching. The closeness. His hand came up to cup my cheek, and I gasped at the intensity of the mate bond flaring between us. Is this okay? I couldn't speak, could only nod. His thumb traced along my cheekbone, feather light. And this? Yes, I whispered. He moved closer, until I could feel his breath on my face, see the darker flecks of gold in his amber eyes. His other hand came to rest on my waist, warm through my sweater. We could try the forehead thing, he murmured, just to see how it feels. He was giving me an out, a chance to say no. But I didn't want to. Despite every rational thought in my head, I wanted to know what it would feel like to be this close to him. Okay, I breathed. Slowly, giving me time to pull away, Rowan leaned in until his forehead touched mine. The contact was electric, the mate bond singing through my entire body. This close, surrounded by his scent, Feeling the warmth of his skin, I felt like I was drowning in him. Sky, he whispered, and there was something raw in his voice, something that made my heart race. Yeah, nothing. Just your name. I like saying your name. We stayed like that for a long moment, breathing each other's air, the world narrowing to just this. His hands on my face and waist, his forehead against mine, the bond pulsing between us like a heartbeat. Then, from somewhere in the house, a door slammed. We jerked apart, and I immediately felt the loss of contact like a physical ache. Rowan, you home? Derek's voice called from downstairs. Reality crashed back. Right. Derek. The reason I was doing this in the first place. We should probably go down, I said, my voice not quite steady. Let him see us together. Something shuddered in Rowan's expression. Right. Of course. We headed downstairs, and I tried to ignore the part of me that wished Derek hadn't interrupted. That wished I could have stayed in that moment with Rowan just a little bit longer. Derek was in the kitchen, grabbing a water from the fridge. He smiled when he saw us. Hey, Sky. Didn't know you were here. Tutoring session? I said, proud that my voice came out normal. Right. Derek's eyes moved between us, and I wondered what he saw. You two have been spending a lot of time together. Well, she is my girlfriend, Rowan said, and his arms slid around my waist, pulling me against his side. The possessiveness in his voice made something flutter in my chest. Yeah, I know, it's just... Derek paused. It's weird, you know? You guys used to hate each other, and now suddenly you're inseparable. People change. Rowan said simply. His hand was warm on my waist, his thumb tracing small circles that were absolutely not helping my concentration. Feelings change. Derek's expression was hard to read. I guess so. Anyway, I've got plans tonight, so I should get ready. He looked at me. It was good seeing you, Sky. Maybe we can all hang out sometime. The three of us? I'd like that, I said, meaning it. After Derek left, Rowan's arm dropped from my waist, and I immediately missed the contact. That was good, he said, his voice back to business. He definitely seemed affected. You think? I know my brother. He's interested. Rowan grabbed his keys. Come on, I'll drive you home. You don't have to, Sky? He looked at me, and there was something in his eyes I couldn't decipher. I want to. So I let him drive me home in his Mercedes, very aware of how small the space felt, how close we were. And when he pulled up in front of my small house, he came around to open my door for me like a perfect gentleman. Same time Monday, he asked. Same time Monday? I confirmed. He caught my hand as I turned to leave. Sky. Yeah. For a moment, he looked like he wanted to say something important. Then he seemed to change his mind and just squeezed my hand gently. Have a good weekend. You too. I watched him drive away, my hand still tingling from his touch, my heart thoroughly confused about what I was feeling. This was supposed to be simple. Fake date Rowan, make Derek jealous. Get asked to prom by the boy I'd loved since kindergarten. So why did the thought of Derek asking me to prom suddenly seem less appealing than spending another afternoon in Rowan's study? His forehead pressed against mine, pretending that what we had was real. Chapter 4. Complications and Confessions. The following week, Rowan and I took our fake relationship to the next level. He started meeting me at my car every morning, greeting me with a hug that lingered just long enough to feel real. His arms would wrap around me, pulling me close against his chest, and I'd breathe in his scent while trying to ignore how right it felt to be held by him. At lunch, I'd started sitting on his lap sometimes, his arms around my waist as we talked with his friends. The first time he'd pulled me down, I'd frozen, but he'd just murmured, "Trust me," in my ear, and somehow I did. We'd also started the forehead touching thing in public. Little moments where we'd press our foreheads together and just exist in our own bubble while the world moved around us. Every time we did it, the mate bond flared stronger, and every time it got harder to remember this wasn't real. Derek noticed. Oh, he definitely noticed. "You guys are really serious, huh?" he'd said at lunch on Tuesday, watching as Rowan traced patterns on my arm absently while talking to Marcus about the upcoming lacrosse game. "Yeah," I'd said, trying not to shiver at Rowan's touch. "We are." "It's just so fast," Derek had pressed. "A few weeks ago, you couldn't stand each other." "When you know, you know," Rowan had said simply, his amber eyes meeting mine with an intensity that stole my breath. Now it was Thursday afternoon, and I was back in Rowan's study for our tutoring session. But for once, neither of us was focused on calculus. "Did you see Chelsea's face today when you kissed my cheek?" I asked, laughing at the memory. I thought she was going to combust. Rowan grinned, that rare, genuine smile that transformed his whole face. She cornered me after third period and asked if we were really together or if it was some kind of joke. "What did you tell her?" "That you're the realest thing in my life." His smile faded slightly. Which isn't entirely a lie. Something in his tone made my heart skip. "What do you mean?" He was quiet for a moment, spinning his pencil between his fingers. "You're different from everyone else at that school, Sky. You don't care that I'm an Ashclaw. You don't want anything from me except honesty." "That's not true," I said softly. "I wanted you to help me get Derek's attention." Rowan's expression shuddered. "Right. Derek. How's that going, by the way?" "Good, I think. He's been talking to me more. Yesterday, he asked me about my favorite movies." I smiled, remembering. He seemed genuinely interested. "That's great," Rowan said, but his voice was flat. "Really great." "Rowan, what's wrong?" "Nothing." He stood abruptly, moving to the window. "It's just, we should probably talk about the next step." "What next step?" He turned to face me, and there was something conflicted in his expression. "Sky, we've been doing this for 3 weeks now. Hand-holding, hugging, the forehead thing. But there's one thing we haven't done that couples definitely do." My stomach dropped. "We agreed no kissing." "I know what we agreed," he said quietly. "But think about it. We're supposed to be madly in love, but we've never kissed. Not even a quick peck. People are starting to notice." Chelsea asked me about it specifically. "She did?" "She said it was weird that I'm apparently so into you but we never kiss. That it didn't seem real." He ran a hand through his hair. "She's not wrong, Sky. If we want to keep this convincing, if we want Derek to really believe we're together, we need to kiss," I finished, my voice barely above a whisper. The thought terrified me. Not because I didn't want to kiss Rowan, and that was its own terrifying realization, but because I knew that once we crossed that line, there would be no going back. The mate bond was already so strong that sometimes I could feel his emotions bleeding through. A kiss would only intensify that connection. "I won't force you," Rowan said, moving back toward me. "If you really want to save your first kiss for Derek, I understand. We can find another way." I thought about Derek. Sweet, kind Derek who barely knew I existed until I started fake dating his brother. Derek, who I'd built up in my head for years based on one act of kindness in kindergarten. Then I thought about Rowan. Complicated. Infuriating Rowan who held my hand like it was precious, who looked at me like I was the only person in the room, who made my heart race with just a smile. What if? I started, then stopped, gathering courage. What if it doesn't mean anything? Just for show, like everything else. Something painful flashed in Rowan's eyes. Right, just for show. So we could practice. Like we practiced the forehead thing. We could. he said carefully. If you want to. Did I want to? God help me, I did. I wanted to know what it would feel like to kiss Rowan Ashclaw, even if it was fake. Even if it was just practice. Okay, I said, standing up. My legs felt shaky. How do we do this? Rowan moved closer, and I could feel the heat radiating off his body. However you're comfortable. We can keep it simple. Just a quick kiss, nothing intense. Okay. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure he could hear it. His hands came up to cup my face, gentle and sure. You can stop me any time. Just say the word. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Slowly, giving me every opportunity to pull away, Rowan leaned in. His amber eyes held mine until the last second, and then his lips brushed against mine. The world exploded. The mate bond didn't just flare, it detonated. Electricity coursed through my entire body as Rowan's lips moved against mine, soft and sure and absolutely devastating. My hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, and he made a sound low in his throat that sent heat pooling in my stomach. This was nothing like I'd imagined a first kiss would be. It was better, more intense. More real than anything I'd ever felt. Rowan kissed like he was trying to memorize me, his hands sliding from my face to my hair, his body pressed against mine. I kissed him back with everything I had, lost in the sensation of his mouth on mine, the taste of him, the way he held me like I was something precious and wild all at once. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, I couldn't form coherent thoughts. My lips were tingling, my whole body humming with energy, and the mate bond was singing so loudly I could barely hear anything else. Sky. Rowan breathed, his forehead dropping to rest against mine. That was just practice. I interrupted, even though we both knew it was a lie, for school. To make it convincing. His hands were still in my hair, his amber eyes searching mine. Right. Practice. But the way he was looking at me, the way his thumb traced my lower lip like he wanted to kiss me again, didn't feel like practice at all. A knock on the door made us spring apart. Rowan? Derek's voice called. Mom wants to know if Sky's staying for dinner. Yeah, 1 second. Rowan called back, his voice rough. He cleared his throat, running a hand through his disheveled hair. You want to stay? Did I? Sitting through dinner with Rowan and Derek and their family, pretending that kiss hadn't just shattered every assumption I'd had about what I was feeling. I should probably get home, I said. My mom's expecting me. Disappointment flashed across Rowan's face. Okay, I'll walk you out. We headed downstairs in silence, the air between us thick with everything unsaid. Derek was in the living room, and he smiled when he saw us. Leaving already? He asked. Yeah, I have to get home, I said, trying to act normal even though I felt like my entire world had shifted on its axis. That's too bad. I was hoping we could all watch a movie or something. Derek's eyes moved between us, and I wondered if he could see how flushed I was, how Rowan's hair was mussed from my fingers. You guys look... Did I interrupt something? Just studying, Rowan said smoothly, but his hand found mine, lacing our fingers together. The spark jumped between us, and I had to fight not to gasp. Right. Derek's smile seemed forced. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, Sky. We should talk more at lunch. I feel like I barely know you. I'd like that, I said automatically, but my attention was on Rowan's thumb tracing circles on my palm. Rowan walked me out to my car, keeping my hand in his the whole way. When we reached my Honda, he turned to face me. About what happened in there, he started. It was just practice, I said quickly, like we agreed. Nothing to analyze. Sky. I'll see you tomorrow, Rowan. I pulled my hand from his, immediately missing the contact. Thanks for everything. I got in my car before he could respond, before I could do something stupid like kiss him again, just because I wanted to. As I drove home, I touched my lips, still tingling from Rowan's kiss. This was supposed to be simple. Fake date the boy I hated to make the boy I loved notice me. So, why did kissing Rowan feel more real than anything I'd ever experienced? And why did the thought of Derek asking me to prom suddenly fill me with dread instead of excitement? The next day at school, everything changed. Rowan was waiting by my car as usual, but when he saw me, something shifted in his expression. Before I could say anything, he pulled me into his arms and kissed me. Right there, in the parking lot, in front of everyone. It wasn't like our practice kiss. This was possessive, claiming, his hand cupping the back of my head as his lips moved against mine with an intensity that made my knees weak. When he pulled back, I was breathless and dizzy, very aware of the dozens of students staring at us with open mouths. "What was that for?" I whispered. "Selling it." He murmured back, but his eyes told a different story. Chelsea was standing nearby, her face a mask of fury. Mission accomplished, I supposed. But as Rowan took my hand and led me into school, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had fundamentally changed between us. At lunch, I sat on Rowan's lap as usual, but this time his arms around me felt different. More secure, more real. His lips brushed against my temple every so often, and each touch sent shivers down my spine. Derek watched us with an expression I'd never seen before. He looked almost upset. "You guys are really all over each other today." Marcus commented with a grin. "Can you blame me?" Rowan said, his hand splaying across my stomach. "Look at her." The compliment, delivered so casually but with such conviction, made heat rise in my cheeks. "It's almost disgusting how cute you two are," Mara said, but she was smiling. "So, Sky," Derek said suddenly, his voice too loud. I was thinking. "There's a new art exhibit opening downtown this weekend. Would you want to go with me?" The table went quiet. This was it. What I'd been waiting for. Derek was asking me out. I should have been thrilled. This was the whole point of the fake relationship. But all I could think about was Rowan's arms around me, the way his body had tensed when Derek asked the question, the memory of his lips on mine. I hesitated, feeling Rowan's grip on me tighten almost imperceptibly. "She's busy this weekend," Rowan said, his voice carrying an edge I'd never heard before. "We have plans." "Do we?" I asked, looking back at him. His amber eyes were intense, almost desperate. "Yeah, remember, we were going to go hiking. You said you wanted to see the falls." I had said no such thing, but the pleading look in his eyes made me play along. "Right," I said slowly. "The hiking trip." Derek's expression darkened. "Maybe another time then." "Yeah," I said quietly. "Maybe another time." But as I said it, I realized with startling clarity that I didn't want another time. I didn't want to go to an art exhibit with Derek. I didn't want his polite smiles and casual interest. I wanted Rowan's intensity, his passion, the way he looked at me like I was his entire world. Oh no, no. I was falling for him. For real? The realization hit me like a physical blow, and I must have made some sound because Rowan leaned down, his lips at my ear. "You okay?" he murmured. No, I was very much not okay. Because I'd just realized I was in love with my fake boyfriend, and I had no idea what to do about it. "Fine," I lied. "Just tired." His arms tightened around me, and I let myself lean back into his chest, trying to memorize the feeling of being held by him. Because in 2 months, this would all be over. Rowan would move on. Probably date someone from his own social circle. Someone powerful and beautiful and perfect. And I'd be left with a broken heart and the memory of what it felt like to be his. Even if it was just pretend. After school, as Rowan drove me home, the silence was heavy with unspoken words. "You should have said yes," he finally said as we pulled up to my house. What? To Derek. The art exhibit. That's what you wanted, right? For him to notice you, to ask you out? Yeah, I guess. So why didn't you say yes? He turned to look at me, and there was something raw in his expression. Why did you let me make that excuse? Because I don't want him anymore, I thought. I want you. But I couldn't say that. Couldn't admit that somewhere along the way, this fake relationship had become the most real thing in my life. I don't know, I said instead. Rowan's jaw clenched. Sky, we need to talk about. His phone buzzed. Then again, and again, he pulled it out, and I saw his expression change, going cold and hard. What is it? Nothing, he said, but his knuckles were white where he gripped the phone. Just school stuff. He was lying. I could feel it through the bond. Rowan. I have to go, he said abruptly. I'll see you tomorrow. There was something wrong, something he wasn't telling me, but before I could press, he was already pulling away, leaving me standing in my driveway feeling more confused than ever. That night I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment with Rowan. The way he smiled at me. The way he held my hand. The way he'd kissed me like I was oxygen and he was drowning. My phone buzzed with a text from Mara. Girl, we need to talk about what's happening between you and Rowan. That was now acting at lunch today. I stared at the message, unable to deny it anymore. She was right. What Rowan and I had, it had stopped being fake somewhere along the way. The question was, did he feel it too? Or was I alone in this? Falling for someone who was just playing a part. I fell asleep without answering Mara, my dreams filled with amber eyes and the taste of a kiss that was supposed to mean nothing but had ended up meaning everything. Chapter 5. The New Girl. Monday morning started like any other day over the past few weeks. Rowan was waiting by my car, looking unfairly handsome in dark jeans and a gray sweater that brought out the gold in his eyes. But something was off. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes, and there was a tension in his shoulders that hadn't been there before. Hey, I said softly as I approached. Hey. He pulled me into his arms, but the embrace felt perfunctory, like he was going through the motions. Are you okay? I asked against his chest. Fine. He pressed a kiss to the top of my head. We'd started doing that too, casual kisses that felt anything but casual. Jess didn't sleep well. I pulled back to look at him. Rowan, if something's wrong. Nothing's wrong, he said, but his eyes told a different story. Come on, we should get inside. He took my hand, and the familiar spark jumped between us, but even that felt muted somehow. Like he was pulling away from the bond, from me. The hallway was buzzing with more energy than usual. Students clustered in groups and talking excitedly. It took me a moment to realize they were all looking at someone. A girl stood by the main office. Tall and willowy with platinum blonde hair that fell in perfect waves down her back. She was stunning in a way that made me suddenly aware of my simple jeans and sweater, my hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Who's that? I asked Mara, who'd appeared at my side. New girl, Mara said, her eyes narrowed. Sabrina something. Transferred from some private school in the city. Already joined the cheerleading squad. Apparently, as if sensing our attention, the girl, Sabrina, turned and looked directly at Rowan. Her lips curved into a smile that was all predatory confidence. Then her eyes slid to me, to our joined hands, and something calculating entered her expression. I felt Rowan tense beside me. You know her? I asked quietly. No, he said, but his grip on my hand tightened. Come on. Let's get to class. We made it through first period without incident, but by lunch, Sabrina had somehow inserted herself into the popular crowd. She was sitting at our usual table when we arrived, laughing at something Marcus had said, her hand casually resting on Derek's arm. Derek, for his part, looked pleased with the attention. Something ugly twisted in my chest, and it took me a moment to realize it was jealousy. Not because Sabrina was touching Derek, but because I didn't like how close she was sitting to Rowan's usual spot. "Oh, you must be Rowan and Sky," Sabrina said as we approached, her voice honey, sweet. "I've heard so much about you two. The unlikely couple, right? Enemies to lovers." She laughed, but there was something sharp in it. "It's very cute." "Sabrina just transferred here," Chelsea said, though she didn't look happy about the new competition. "She's from Silvercrest Academy." Silvercrest. That was a prestigious private school for powerful werewolf families. Whoever Sabrina was, she came from money and influence. "It's nice to meet you," I said politely, even though everything about her set my teeth on edge. "Oh, the pleasure's all mine," Sabrina said, her eyes lingering on Rowan. "I have to say, Rowan, you're even more handsome than the rumors suggested. Your girlfriend is very lucky." I felt Rowan's arm wrap around my waist, pulling me close against his side. "I'm the lucky one," he said evenly. Sabrina's smile didn't waver. How sweet. "So tell me, how did you two really get together?" I'm dying to know the real story. There was something in the way she said, "real," that made my wolf bristle. "Why does everyone keep asking us that?" Rowan said with a hint of irritation. "We started spending time together, realized we liked each other, and started dating. Not everything needs to be complicated." "Of course not," Sabrina agreed, but her eyes were calculating. "It's just that you two have such an interesting history. I heard you've been enemies since kindergarten. That's a long time to suddenly change your feelings." "People change," I said, lifting my chin. "Feelings change." Sabrina took a delicate sip of her water. "Well, I think it's romantic. Very cinematic. Though I have to wonder." She paused, her eyes moving between us. "How do you really know if what you're feeling is real or just convenient?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. "We know," Rowan said, his voice hard. His hand splayed across my stomach, possessive. "Trust me, we know." But I could feel the tension radiating through him, and I wondered if he was trying to convince Sabrina or himself. Lunch continued with Sabrina dominating the conversation, asking pointed questions that felt like small tests. "Where did we have our first kiss?" "Rowan's study." "True enough. What did we like most about each other?" Rowan said my fierce independence. I said his hidden kindness, and the look he gave me made my heart ache. "What were our plans for prom?" "That we're going together, obviously," I'd said. And Sabrina's smile had sharpened. By the time the bell rang, I was exhausted from keeping up the act under Sabrina's scrutiny. "She's awful," Mara muttered as we walked to our next class. "Total mean girl energy." "She's just curious about the new school," I said, trying to be fair. "She's curious about Rowan," Mara corrected. Did you see the way she looked at him? Like he was a prize to be won. I had seen it, and I'd hated it. That afternoon, I arrived at Rowan's house for our tutoring session to find him pacing in his study, his phone in his hand and a dark expression on his face. "What's wrong?" I asked, closing the door behind me. "Nothing," he said, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. "Rowan, I can feel that you're upset. The bond." I cut myself off, realizing what I'd just admitted. His head snapped up. "You feel it too." "The bond." There was no point denying it. "Yeah, I feel it. Your emotions sometimes, when they're really strong." "Sky, we need to talk about." His phone buzzed. He looked down at it, and his expression went from upset to furious. "What is it?" I moved closer, trying to see the screen. But he angled it away. "It's nothing. Just..." He ran a hand through his hair. "Someone being annoying." Eyes at Sabrina. His silence was answer enough. What does she want? It doesn't matter. He set the phone down, moving toward me. Let's just focus on studying. We have that calc test tomorrow. But I couldn't focus. Not when Rowan was clearly distressed about something. Not when every instinct was screaming at me that something was wrong. We made it through about 20 minutes of half-hearted studying before Rowan's phone buzzed again. And again. And again. For God's sake, I said, grabbing it before he could. Let me just. I saw the messages before he could stop me. Sabrina, I know your little relationship is fake. Sabrina, I saw you two before you got together. Nobody changes that fast. Sabrina, we should talk. Privately. Sabrina, unless you want the whole school to know you're lying to everyone. My blood ran cold. I looked up at Rowan, whose expression had gone carefully blank. She knows, I whispered. She suspects. Rowan corrected, taking the phone back. She doesn't have proof. What are we going to do? Nothing. We ignore her. She's probably just trying to cause drama. But his voice lacked conviction. And if she tells people anyway? If she tells Derek? The thought made panic rise in my throat. God, Rowan, if people find out we've been lying this whole time, I'll be humiliated. Everyone will think I'm pathetic. Pretending to date you to get Derek's attention. Hey. Rowan grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to look at him. That's not going to happen. I won't let it. How can you stop her? I don't know yet. But I'll figure something out. His thumbs traced soothing circles on my shoulders. I promise, Sky. I'm not going to let you get hurt by this. The sincerity in his voice. The fierce protectiveness in his eyes. It made my heart clench. Why do you care so much? I asked softly. Something flickered in his expression. Because you're... He stopped, seeming to rethink his words. Because we're partners in this. And I protect what's mine. What's mine? The words sent a thrill through me, even though I knew he probably didn't mean them the way I wanted him to. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed again. Sabrina, tomorrow. Lunch. Meet me outside or I tell everyone. Rowan swore under his breath. You have to meet with her, I said, even though the thought of him alone with Sabrina made my wolf snarl. I'm not leaving you to deal with this alone. I'll come with you. We're supposed to be a couple, right? Couples face things together. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Together, that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Sabrina's calculating smile, her pointed questions, the way she looked at Rowan like she wanted to devour him. And I thought about what would happen if everyone found out the truth. The humiliation. The pity. Derek finding out I'd orchestrated this whole thing just to get his attention. Except, I didn't want Derek's attention anymore. At some point, without meaning to, I'd fallen completely and irrevocably in love with Rowan Ashclaw. The boy I was supposed to hate. The boy I was fake dating. The boy who held my hand like it was precious and kissed me like I was his whole world. And tomorrow, I might lose him. The next day, Rowan and I met at my car like usual, but there was no kiss, no easy affection. We were both too tense, too aware of what was coming. Whatever she says, we stick together, Rowan said as we walked toward the school. We present a united front. Okay, I agreed, taking his hand. The spark jumped between us, and for a moment, I let myself pretend this was real. That he was really mine, and I was really his. At lunch, we waited until everyone else had settled at our table before making our excuses. Where are you guys going? Derek asked, frowning. Just need to talk about something, Rowan said vaguely. We'll be back. We found Sabrina waiting outside, leaning against the wall with her phone in her hand. She looked up as we approached, a smile playing on her perfect lips. Right on time, she said. I appreciate punctuality. What do you want, Sabrina? Rowan asked, his voice flat. Straight to the point. I like that. She pushed off the wall, moving closer. Here's what I know, you two aren't really dating. This whole thing is an act. A pretty convincing one, I'll give you that, but an act nonetheless. You don't know what you're talking about, I said, but my voice wavered. Don't I? Sabrina's eyes were sharp. I've been watching you two all week, and I've noticed some interesting things. Like how Sky looks at Derek when she thinks no one's watching. Like how Rowan tenses every time someone gets too close to Sky, even his own brother. Like how you two touch each other like you're afraid it might disappear. She paused. That's not how real couples act. That's how people pretending to be a couple act. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst from my chest. So what if you're right? Rowan said, his voice dangerous. What do you want? Sabrina's smile widened. Now we're getting somewhere. Here's what I want you, Rowan. As my boyfriend. My real boyfriend. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Not interested, Rowan said immediately. Then I tell everyone the truth, Sabrina said with a shrug. I tell them that little Sky Moonridge has been so desperate for Derek's attention that she convinced his brother to fake date her. I tell them that Rowan Ashclaw, the great alpha hare, has been lying to everyone about his relationship status. Your reputations will be destroyed. Why would they believe you? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Because I'll make them believe me. I have screenshots of text messages, photos of you two before you got together, where you look like you want to murder each other. I can be very convincing. She looked at Rowan. All you have to do is dump Sky and date me instead. Take me to prom. Make me popular. And your secret stays safe. No, Rowan said immediately. Sabrina's eyes narrowed. No. Absolutely not. I'm not dating you. And I'm not dumping Sky. Then you're choosing to let everyone know you're a liar. Fine. Rowan's arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me close. Tell them. But Sky and I are real. And nothing you say is going to change that. Wait, what? Sabrina looked between us, her confidence faltering slightly. You'd really risk your reputation for her. Yes, Rowan said without hesitation, without question. My heart was going to explode. He was choosing me. Choosing us, even if it meant social suicide. Rowan, I whispered. He looked down at me, and the intensity in his amber eyes stole my breath. I meant what I said, Sky. You're mine, and I don't care who knows it or how it happened. I'm not walking away from you. Sabrina made a disgusted sound. God, you're actually serious. You actually have feelings for her. Yeah, Rowan said, never taking his eyes off me. I do. Fine. Sabrina's voice was sharp with anger. I'll give you until prom to think about it. Either you dump her and take me, or I tell everyone the truth. You have 8 weeks to decide. She stalked off, leaving us standing there in shocked silence. Rowan, I said again, because it was the only word I could form. He pulled me fully into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. I should have known someone would figure it out. You stood up for me, I interrupted. You chose me over your reputation. Of course I did. He pulled back just enough to cup my face. Sky, Rowan. Sky? We broke apart to see Derek jogging toward us. Hey, Derek said, slightly out of breath. Everything okay? You guys looked intense. Everything's fine, Rowan said, his hand finding mine. Just needed to talk about something private. Derek's eyes moved to our joined hands, then back to our faces. Listen, Sky, I wanted to ask you something. My stomach dropped. No, not now. What is it? I asked. I know you said you were busy last weekend, but I was thinking, would you want to grab coffee with me sometime? Just the two of us. I feel like we barely talk, And you're important to my brother. So I want to get to know you better. It was such a Derek thing to say. Thoughtful kind, completely missing the point. A month ago, I would have said yes in a heartbeat. Would have been thrilled that he wanted to spend time with me. Now, all I could think about was Rowan's arms around me, his declaration that I was his, the way he'd chosen me over everything else. Derek. She's not interested, Rowan said, his voice hard. Derek blinked. What? She's not interested in coffee with you, or art exhibits, or anything else that involves the two of you alone together. Rowan, that's not. I started, but he cut me off. No, Sky, I'm done pretending this doesn't bother me. I'm done watching my brother try to spend time with my girlfriend. He looked at Derek. She's mine. Not yours. Mine. The possessiveness in his voice made my wolf purr with satisfaction. Derek held up his hands. Whoa. Okay, I wasn't trying to step on your toes, man. I just wanted to be friends with her. Then be friends with both of us. But you don't get private coffee dates with my girlfriend. Derek looked between us, confusion written all over his face. Okay. Sure. Whatever you want. He walked away, shaking his head. The moment he was gone, I turned to Rowan. What was that? That was me being honest, he said, his jaw tight. I'm tired of this, Sky. Tired of watching you light up when Derek talks to you. Tired of pretending I don't want to punch him every time he looks at you like he's just now realizing you exist. But that's the whole point, I said weakly, to make Derek notice me. Eyes it. Rowan's eyes searched mine. Is that still what you want, Derek? And there it was. The question I'd been avoiding asking myself. I don't know, I whispered. Something broke in Rowan's expression. You don't know. I'm confused, okay? This was supposed to be fake, and now Sabrina's blackmailing us, and you're being all possessive. And I can't think straight. Then let me make this simple, Rowan said, stepping closer. I'm in love with you, Sky. I have been since kindergarten. Since the day I threw your bunny in the puddle, because I was jealous that you were hugging it instead of paying attention to me. I've loved you through all the fighting, all the insults, all the years of pretending I didn't. And this fake relationship, it stopped being fake for me the moment I touched your hand and felt the mate bond snap into place. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at him as his words sank in. You love me. Yes, he said simply. And I hope that maybe you feel the same way, that maybe Derek isn't who you want anymore. Did I? Did I love Rowan Ashclaw? Yes. God, yes. Completely and utterly and hopelessly. But before I could say it, before I could tell him that he was right, that somewhere along the way I'd fallen in love with him too, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mother, emergency pack meeting. Come home in a bogue. I have to go, I said, my voice cracking. Pack emergency? Sky, wait. I'm sorry, I have to. I pulled away from him, from the most important moment of my life. I'll text you later. I ran to my car, leaving Rowan standing there, and drove home with tears streaming down my face, because I'd just realized I loved him. Truly, deeply, irrevocably loved him. And I had 8 weeks before Sabrina destroyed everything. Chapter 6. Breaking point. The pack emergency turned out to be a territorial dispute with a neighboring pack. Nothing that required my immediate attention, but my mother had panicked. By the time I got home and sorted everything out, it was nearly 9 o'clock. I had 17 missed calls from Rowan and twice as many texts. Rowan. Sky, please call me back. Rowan. We need to talk about what I said. Rowan. I'm sorry if I scared you. Rowan. Just tell me you're okay. Rowan, please. That last one, so simple and desperate, made my heart achy. I called him immediately. He picked up on the first ring. Sky? I'm sorry, I said quickly. There was a pack thing, and I had to deal with it, and I couldn't get to my phone. Are you okay? Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine. It was just pack politics. I sat down on my bed, suddenly exhausted. Rowan, about what you said earlier. Forget it, he said quickly. I shouldn't have dumped all that on you. I needed you to know. But I don't expect anything. If you still want Derek, if that's what makes you happy. It's not, I interrupted. Silence on the other end. It's not Derek I want, I continued, my heart pounding. I thought it was. For years, I built him up in my head as this perfect guy based on one kind gesture. But I don't actually know him, Rowan. I don't know what makes him laugh or what he's afraid of or how he takes his coffee. I took a shaky breath. But I know you. I know you're secretly a perfectionist who pretends not to care about grades. I know you steal the whipped cream off my hot chocolate when you think I'm not looking. I know you have nightmares sometimes because I can feel them through the bond. I know that you're kind and protective and that you make me feel safer than anyone ever has. Sky, he breathed. I'm in love with you, I said, the words tumbling out in a rush. I don't know when it happened. Maybe it was the first time you held my hand, or the first time we kissed, or maybe it was years ago and I was too stubborn to see it. But I love you, Rowan, not Derek. You. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Rowan? I'm coming over? He said, his voice rough with emotion. What? No, it's late and I need to see you. Right now. I'm already in my car. 20 minutes later, I heard a soft tap on my bedroom window. I opened it to find Rowan balanced on the tree branch outside, looking windswept and beautiful and absolutely crazy. You climbed the tree, I whispered, very aware that my mother was asleep down the hall. You're on the second floor. What was I supposed to do? He climbed through the window with practiced ease. And suddenly my small bedroom felt tiny with him in it. We stood there for a moment, just looking at each other. Then Rowan crossed the distance between us in 2 strides and pulled me into his arms. Say it again. He murmured against my hair. I love you? I whispered. I love you, I. He kissed me, cutting off my words. This wasn't like our practice kiss or even the kiss in the parking lot. This was desperate and tender and filled with months of pent-up longing. His hands cupped my face like I was something precious, and I wrapped my arms around his neck, pulling him closer. The mate bond sang between us, so strong now that I could feel everything he was feeling. Relief, joy, love so intense it made my chest ache. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. I stole it, Rowan said suddenly. What? Your bunny keyring. The one your mom got you after I ruined Mr. Hopsworth. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, worn keyring, a tiny stuffed bunny that I'd thought was lost forever. I've carried it with me every day since I was 6 years old. To feel close to you, even when you hated me. Tears pricked my eyes. You've had it this whole time? I'm sorry. I know it was wrong, but I couldn't give it back. It was the only piece of you I had. He pressed it into my palm. But it's yours. It's always been yours. I stared at the keyring, at this physical proof that Rowan had loved me for years. That this wasn't sudden or fake or convenient. It was real and deep and lasting. Keep it, I said, closing his fingers around it. It brought you back to me. That makes it lucky? Rowan pulled me close again, his forehead resting against mine in that gesture that had become ours. What are we going to do about Sabrina? Reality crashed back. Right, Sabrina, who was threatening to expose us unless Rowan dumped me and took her to prom. I don't know, I admitted. If she tells everyone the truth, then we deal with it. Rowan said firmly. Together. And we tell them that, yeah, maybe it started as fake, but it's real now. more real than anything I've ever felt. People will think I'm pathetic, that I was so desperate for Derek's attention. Anyone who thinks that is an idiot. Rowan interrupted. And anyone who matters will see the truth, that you're brave and fierce, and you took a chance on something unconventional. That's not pathetic, Sky. That's courageous. I wanted to believe him, but the thought of facing the whole school's judgment, of seeing pity or mockery in everyone's eyes, made me feel sick. We have 8 weeks, I said. Maybe we can figure something out before then. Or maybe, Rowan said slowly, we call her bluff. What do you mean? Sabrina wants me to dump you and take her to prom. But what if we refuse? What if we stick together no matter what she says? His amber eyes were intense. She can tell everyone it started as fake. Fine. But she can't prove that what we have now isn't real. And if we stand together, if we show everyone that we don't care what they think, her power over us disappears. It was risky. Terrifying even, but also kind of brilliant. You really think that would work? I think that you and I together can handle anything. He kissed my forehead gently. But it's your choice, Sky. If you want to end this, if you want to give Sabrina what she wants to protect yourself, I'll understand. No, I said immediately. I'm not giving you up. Not for Sabrina, not for anyone. Rowan's smile was radiant. That's my girl. My girl. Hearing him say it for real, not as part of an act, made warmth flood through me. We spent the next hour curled up on my bed, talking in whispers about everything and nothing. Rowan told me about growing up as the alpha's son, the pressure to be perfect, the loneliness of always being watched and judged. I told him about taking over my pack so young, the fear of failing them, the constant struggle to appear strong. We're more alike than I thought. I murmured, my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. We've always been alike, Rowan said, his fingers running through my hair. That's why we clashed so hard. 2 stubborn alphas who didn't know how to back down. And now we're 2 stubborn alphas who love each other. He pressed a kiss to my temple. Though I should probably go before your mom finds me here and has my head. I didn't want him to leave, but he was right. My mother was protective and traditional. Finding Rowan in my bedroom at midnight would not end well. He climbed back out the window with a grace that shouldn't have been possible, but I was learning that Rowan was full of surprises. Tomorrow, he said, balanced on the tree branch. We face this together. Together. I agreed. I watched him climb down and disappear into the night. My heart full in a way it had never been before. For the first time since this whole fake relationship began, I felt like everything might actually be okay. I was wrong. The next few weeks were the best of my life, and the most stressful. Rowan and I stopped pretending. We held hands because we wanted to, kissed because we couldn't help it, looked at each other with genuine affection that made our friends alternately gag and coo. You two are disgustingly cute, Mara said one day at lunch, watching as Rowan fed me a French fry while discussing pack politics. Seriously, Marcus agreed. I preferred it when you hated each other. This is too much sweetness for my jaded soul. But underneath the happiness was constant anxiety. Sabrina watched us like a hawk, her smile growing sharper with each passing day. She'd integrated herself into our friend group completely, charming everyone except Mara, who saw right through her. She's planning something, Mara warned me in the bathroom one day. I can feel it. She gave us until prom, I said, checking my reflection. We still have 5 weeks. You really think she's going to wait that long? I didn't know. All I knew was that every day with Rowan felt stolen, precious, like it might disappear at any moment. Derek had backed off after Rowan's possessive display. but I could see him watching us sometimes with an expression I couldn't read. Confusion, maybe, or realization that he'd missed his chance. The thought should have thrilled me. Derek Ashclaw, finally seeing me. But it just made me sad. Sad that I'd wasted so much time pining after someone I'd built up in my imagination, when the person I was meant to be with had been right in front of me all along. It was a Friday afternoon, 3 weeks after Rowan's confession, when everything fell apart. I was at my locker, grabbing books for the weekend, when Sabrina appeared beside me. "We need to talk," she said, her voice low. "I have nothing to say to you." "Then just listen." She leaned against the locker, her expression calculating. "I've been patient, Sky. I gave you and Rowan time to come to your senses. But prom is only 5 weeks away, and you're still clinging to him like a desperate little puppy." My hands clenched around my textbook. "What do you want, Sabrina?" "I want you to end this. Today. Tell Rowan it's over, that you've realized you can't do this anymore." "Why would I do that?" "Because if you don't, I'm going to tell everyone the truth. But not just that your relationship started as fake. I'm going to make you look pathetic. I'll tell them you were so desperate for Derek that you begged Rowan to help you. That you manipulated him into this arrangement because you're a weak alpha from a failing pack who can't get a guy on your own merit." Rage flooded through me. That's not what happened. Isn't it, though? Sabrina's smile was vicious. Poor little Sky Moonridge, so obsessed with a guy who didn't know she existed that she had to trick his brother into a fake relationship. And Rowan, the noble hero, took pity on you. It's really quite sad. People won't believe you. They will when I show them the screenshots I have. Messages between you and your friend Mara from before you started dating Rowan, talking about your crush on Derek. Photos of you staring at Derek like a lovesick fool while Rowan ignored you completely. She pulled out her phone, showing me image after image that, out of context, looked damning. "I've been building my case for weeks, Sky. I have everything I need to destroy you." My heart was pounding. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I want Rowan. And I always get what I want." She put her phone away. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to break up with him. You're going to tell him you can't do this anymore. That it was fun, but you're not ready for something serious. And then you're going to stay away from him. And if I don't? Then by Monday morning, every person in this school will know what a desperate, pathetic, manipulative little alpha you really are. Your reputation will be destroyed. Your pack's standing in the community will suffer. And Rowan will know that being with you cost him his reputation too." She stepped closer. "Do you really want to drag him down with you?" The question hit like a physical blow. Because that was my greatest fear. That loving me would hurt Rowan, that my weakness would become his burden. "I can see you thinking about it," Sabrina said softly. "And you know I'm right. He's the alpha son from one of the most powerful packs in the region. You're a struggling alpha from a pack that can barely make ends meet. You were never going to work long term. So why not end it now, save you both the humiliation?" "I need time to think," I heard myself say. Sabrina smiled, victorious. "You have until Monday. Make the right choice, Sky." She walked away, leaving me standing at my locker, my entire world crumbling around me. I avoided Rowan for the rest of the day, claiming I wasn't feeling well. It wasn't entirely a lie. I felt sick to my stomach, Sabrina's words echoing in my head. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out what to do. If I stayed with Rowan, Sabrina would expose us. Everyone would know the truth about how we started, and her version of events would paint me as desperate and manipulative. The humiliation would be unbearable, not just for me, but for my pack. And Rowan? God, Rowan would suffer too. His reputation, his standing in the community, all of it would be tarnished by association with me. But if I broke up with him, if I walked away from the best thing that had ever happened to me. My phone buzzed with a text from Rowan. I know something's wrong. Can I come over? I stared at the message, tears blurring my vision. I wanted to say yes. Wanted him to climb through my window and hold me and tell me everything would be okay. But would it? Or was Sabrina right? Were Rowan and I destined to fail from the start? Our relationship built on a foundation of lies that would eventually crack. I need some space, I texted back. I'll talk to you Monday. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, okay. I love you. I love you too, I typed. Because it was true. It would always be true. Even if I had to let him go to protect him. I spent the entire weekend agonizing over my decision. Mara came by on Saturday, and I told her everything. That manipulative bitch, Mara said, pacing my room. Sky, you can't let her win. But what if she's right? What if being with me does hurt Rowan? Rowan is a grown, ass alpha werewolf who can make his own decisions. Mara said firmly, if he wants to be with you, reputation be damned, that's his choice. You don't get to make it for him, but his future. Is his to decide. Not yours. Not Sabrina's. His. Mara sat down next to me. Sky, I've watched you and Rowan together these past few weeks. That's real love. The kind of love that doesn't come around often. Are you really going to throw that away because some mean girl threatened you? I wanted to be brave. Wanted to fight for Rowan the way he'd fought for me. But when I thought about everyone at school laughing at me, whispering about desperate Sky Moonridge, who was so pathetic, she had to trick guys into dating her. I didn't know if I was strong enough to endure that. Monday morning came too quickly. I drove to school with a knot in my stomach, still unsure what I was going to do. Rowan was waiting by my car, his expression worried. Sky, he said as I got out. What's going on? You've been avoiding me all weekend. I know. I'm sorry. I just needed to think. About what? He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Hurt flashed across his face. Sky, talk to me. I can't do this anymore, I blurted out. The words hung in the air between us, devastating in their simplicity. What? Rowan's voice was barely a whisper. This? Us. I thought I could, but I can't. It's too much, too fast. I'm not ready for something this serious. The lies tasted like ash on my tongue, but I forced them out anyway. I think we should take a break. A break. Rowan's expression had gone carefully blank, that mask he wore when he was hurt sliding into place. You want to take a break? I'm sorry, I need space to figure things out. Figure what out, exactly? His voice was harder now, anger bleeding through the hurt. Whether you love me, because you seemed pretty sure about that a few days ago. I do love you. Then what the hell is this about? He grabbed my shoulders, gentle despite his obvious distress. Sky, please. Whatever's wrong, we can fix it together. Just talk to me. I wanted to. God, I wanted to tell him everything. About Sabrina's threats, about my fears, about how much it was killing me to do this. But then I saw Sabrina watching us from across the parking lot. That victorious smile on her face. And I knew I was making the right choice. The only choice that would protect Rowan from the fallout. There's nothing to fix, I said, stepping back from his touch. I can't do this right now. I'm sorry. Sky, please, Rowan, just let me go. The devastation on his face nearly broke me. But I turned and walked away before I could change my mind, before I could throw myself into his arms and take it all back. I made it to the bathroom before the tears came, violent sobs that shook my whole body. I'd just broken up with the love of my life to protect him from scandal. And he had no idea why. Chapter 7. Aftermath. The next 2 weeks were the worst of my life. Rowan tried everything to get me to talk to him. He waited by my locker, sent me texts that went from confused to angry to desperate. Even showed up at my house once. But I couldn't face him. Couldn't look into those amber eyes and maintain the lie that I didn't want him anymore. So I avoided him. Changed my route between classes. Ate lunch in the library. Left school the moment the final bell rang. It was cowardly, but it was the only way I could survive this. The hardest part was feeling his emotions through the mate bond. The connection hadn't faded despite our breakup. If anything, it had grown stronger, more insistent. I felt his confusion, his hurt, his anger. And worst of all, I felt the moment when the hurt transformed into something else. Resignation. Acceptance. He'd given up on me. "You look terrible," Mara said, cornering me in the library on the second Wednesday after the breakup. "Have you eaten anything today?" "I had a granola bar. That was yesterday and I gave it to you." She sat down across from me, her expression stern. "Sky, this has to stop. You're making yourself sick." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You broke up with the love of your life for a stupid reason, and now you're both miserable. Have you seen Rowan?" "He looks like death." I had seen him. Every glimpse was a knife to my heart. He'd stopped trying to talk to me, stopped waiting by my locker, stopped looking at me in the hallways. It was what I'd wanted: space, distance, protection for him from Sabrina's threats. So why did it hurt so much? "It's better this way," I said, not believing it. "How? How is this better? You love him, he loves you." "Mara, please." "I can't talk about this." She studied me for a long moment. "Sabrina got to you, didn't she? She threatened you, and you're protecting Rowan by pushing him away." I didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Oh, Sky." Mara's voice was soft with sympathy. "You noble idiot. You're breaking both your hearts for nothing." "It's not for nothing. If Sabrina exposes us, then you deal with it together." "That's what people who love each other do." She grabbed my hand. "Sky, listen to me. Rowan would rather face scandal with you than be safe without you." "Can't you see that?" I could. That was the problem. I knew Rowan would choose me over everything else, which was exactly why I had to choose for him. Someone had to be rational, had to think about the long-term consequences. Even if it destroyed us both. It was Friday afternoon, 3 weeks after the breakup, when I saw them together. I'd stayed late to finish a project in the library, and when I finally left, the parking lot was nearly empty. Nearly, but not completely. Rowan's Mercedes was still there, and standing next to it, her hand on his arm, was Sabrina. She was laughing at something he'd said, her platinum hair catching the late afternoon sun. And Rowan. God, Rowan looked so tired, so defeated. He wasn't smiling, wasn't engaging with her obvious flirtation, but he wasn't pushing her away either. My wolf snarled with jealousy, wanting to march over there and rip Sabrina away from what was mine. Except Rowan wasn't mine anymore. I'd given him up. As if sensing my presence, Rowan's head turned. Our eyes met across the parking lot, and the mate bond flared so intensely that I gasped. For a moment, everything else fell away. Sabrina, the breakup, the lies. It was just us, connected by something deeper than choice or circumstance. Then Sabrina said something, and Rowan looked away. The connection broke, leaving me feeling hollow. I practically ran to my car, tears blurring my vision. I'd done this. I'd pushed him away, and now Sabrina was swooping in to claim what I'd abandoned. The thought made me physically ill. That night, Mara came over with ice cream and bad movies, trying to cheer me up. But nothing helped. Nothing could fill the Rowan-shaped hole in my chest. I saw them today, I said during a particularly dramatic scene that neither of us was watching. Rowan and Sabrina, in the parking lot. And she was all over him, touching his arm, laughing, doing that thing girls do when they want a guy to notice them. Was he reciprocating? I thought about it. No, not really. He looked empty. Because he misses you, you walnut. Mara threw a pillow at me. God, you're both so stupid. Just talk to him. Tell him what Sabrina said. Let him make his own choice. I can't. Why not? Because I struggled to find the words. Because what if she's right? What if I am just a burden? A liability? Rowan deserves someone who makes his life better, not worse. Sky Moonridge, you listen to me. Mara's voice was fierce. You are not a burden. You're strong and brave, and any guy would be lucky to have you. Including Rowan Ashclaw. I wanted to believe her. But doubt had taken root in my heart, and I couldn't seem to shake it. Monday morning, I walked into school to find everyone staring at me. At first, I thought I was being paranoid. But no, people were definitely looking at me, whispering behind their hands, some with pity, others with barely concealed glee. What's going on? I asked Mara when I found her at her locker. She looked at me with sympathy. You haven't heard? Heard what? Sabrina asked Rowan to prom. In front of everyone at lunch on Friday. My heart stopped. What did he say? He said no. Very firmly. Told her he wasn't interested and walked away. Mara paused. But Sabrina's been telling everyone that he only said no because he's still hung up on you. That you broke his heart and now he can't move on. I should have felt relieved that Rowan had rejected her. Instead, I felt worse. Because Sabrina was right. Rowan was hung up on me. And I was breaking both our hearts for nothing. I made it through the morning in a daze, barely paying attention to my classes. At lunch, I hid in the library again, unable to face the cafeteria and the whispers. But I couldn't hide forever. After school, as I was heading to my car, I found Rowan leaning against it, waiting for me. My heart leaped at the sight of him, even as dread pooled in my stomach. We need to talk, he said without preamble. Rowan, I don't think. I don't care what you think right now. We're talking. His voice was hard, but I could see the pain in his eyes. Get in the car. My car. Mine. I'm driving you somewhere we can talk without interruption. Every instinct told me this was a bad idea. That I should refuse, should maintain the distance I'd created. But I missed him so much it physically hurt. So I got in his car. We drove in silence, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. I could feel his emotions through the bond. Anger, hurt, determination. And underneath it all, love. Still love, despite everything. He pulled up to a hiking trail on the outskirts of town, one that led to a secluded overlook. We'd talked about coming here together back, when we were still pretending, back when I didn't realize that what I felt for him was real. Walk with me, he said, getting out of the car. I followed him up the trail, my wolf pacing restlessly. Being this close to Rowan, breathing in his scent, feeling the mate bond pulling at me, it was torture. We reached the overlook, a clearing that gave a stunning view of Silverwood below. Rowan turned to face me, and the intensity in his amber eyes stole my breath. Tell me the truth, he said. The real reason you broke up with me. I already told you. Bullshit. His voice was sharp. You told me you weren't ready, that it was too much too fast. But I felt you through the bond, Sky. I felt your love, your certainty. And then suddenly you're breaking up with me. He moved closer. Someone got to you. Scared you. And I'm betting I know who. I couldn't meet his eyes. Sabrina, he said, confirming his suspicion. What did she say to you? It doesn't matter. It matters to me. His hands cupped my face, forcing me to look at him. Sky, please. I've spent 3 weeks trying to figure out what I did wrong, how I lost you. Just tell me the truth. And suddenly, I couldn't hold it in anymore. The whole story came pouring out. Sabrina's threats, the screenshots, the ultimatum. How she'd promised to destroy my reputation and drag Rowan down with me if I didn't end things. By the time I finished, Rowan looked murderous. That manipulative. He cut himself off, taking a deep breath. And you believed her. You thought breaking up with me would protect me. What was I supposed to do? Let her ruin both our lives? Yes! Rowan's voice echoed across the clearing. Yes, Sky! Because I would rather face scandal with you than be safe without you. Don't you get that? But your reputation, your future, mean nothing without you. He pulled me closer, his forehead resting against mine in that gesture that was so achingly familiar. Sky, you're my mate. My true mate. The bond between us. You feel it, don't you? How strong it is? I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. That doesn't happen by accident. The moon goddess chose us for each other. And you think I'm going to let some jealous girl with a vendetta destroy that? He laughed bitterly. I don't care if everyone in Silverwood knows how we started. I don't care if they think it's scandalous or weird or wrong. All I care about is you. Rowan, I love you, he said fiercely. I've loved you since we were 6 years old. I loved you when you hated me, when you didn't know I existed, when you wanted my brother. And I'll love you if the whole world turns against us. Because you're mine, Sky Moonridge. And I'm yours. That's all that matters. Tears were streaming down my face. I'm so sorry. I thought I was protecting you by breaking both our hearts. He wiped my tears with his thumbs. Sweetheart, the only thing that can hurt me is losing you. Everything else is just noise. But what about Sabrina? She still has those screenshots, the evidence. Then let her release it. Rowan's smile was fierce. Let her tell everyone the truth about how we started. Because you know what? I'll tell them how we ended up. I'll tell them that I'm in love with the bravest, fiercest, most incredible alpha I've ever met. That I'm honored she chose me. And anyone who has a problem with that can go to hell. A laugh bubbled up through my tears. You're insane. About you? Absolutely. He kissed my forehead, my cheeks, the tip of my nose. So what do you say? Can we stop this ridiculous breakup and go back to being together? Properly this time, no more secrets or lies. I wanted to say yes. Wanted it more than I'd ever wanted anything, but doubt still lingered. What if being with me really does hurt you? What if, Sky? Rowan's voice was gentle but firm. Being without you is what's hurting me. These past 3 weeks have been hell. So please, please stop trying to protect me from something I want. Let me love you. Let me stand beside you, whatever comes. Can you do that? Could I? Could I be brave enough to face the judgment, the whispers, the potential fallout? I looked into Rowan's eyes and saw my future. Saw lazy Sunday mornings and fierce arguments and passionate makeups. Saw pack meetings and family dinners and 2 alphas learning to lead together. Saw love, real and deep and lasting. And I realized that Mara was right. That Rowan was right. Being apart was the only thing truly destroying us. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I can do that. Rowan's smile was brilliant. Thank God, because I've missed you so much. He kissed me then, and it was like coming home. The mate bond surged between us, stronger than ever, singing with joy at our reunion. I wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed him back with everything I had, trying to convey without words how much I loved him, how sorry I was, how much these 3 weeks had hurt. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathless and smiling. We should probably talk about how to handle Sabrina, I said, though I really wanted to just keep kissing him. Later, Rowan murmured against my lips. Right now, I just want to hold you and remember what it feels like to be happy. So we stood there on the overlook, wrapped in each other's arms, watching the sun set over Silverwood. And for the first time in weeks, I felt like everything might actually be okay. That night, Rowan drove me home, but neither of us wanted to separate. "I'll pick you up tomorrow," he said, holding my hand like he was afraid I might disappear. "We can spend the whole day together. Make up for lost time." "I'd like that," I said softly. He walked me to my door, kissed me goodnight with a tenderness that made my heart ache, and waited until I was inside before leaving. I went to bed with a smile on my face for the first time in weeks. But the next morning, everything fell apart. I woke up to 17 missed calls from Mara and a text that made my blood run coldsy. "Sabrina posted everything. It's all over social media. I'm so sorry." With shaking hands, I opened Instagram. There, for everyone to see, was a post from Sabrina's account. Screenshots of my old messages with Mara about my crush on Derek. Photos of Rowan and me from before we got together, looking at each other with clear animosity, and a long caption explaining how we'd faked our entire relationship. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the spin she'd put on it. According to Sabrina's version of events, I'd manipulated Rowan into the fake relationship, using his kindness against him. She painted me as desperate and conniving, Rowan as a victim of my schemes, and people were believing it. The comments were brutal. People I'd gone to school with for years, people I'd considered friends, were calling me pathetic, manipulative, a social climber who'd used Rowan to boost my own status. My phone rang. It was Rowan. "Don't look at it," were his first words. "Sky, don't read the comments? Too late?" I whispered, my hands shaking. "Rowan, everyone thinks I manipulated you. They think I'm some kind of predator who used you." "I don't care what they think. We know the truth. But your reputation. I's fine. Most people are on my side, remember. They think I'm the victim." His voice was bitter. The victim. Like I didn't pursue this. Like I didn't love you first. I could hear the pain in his voice, the frustration at being cast as the helpless one in this narrative. "What do we do?" I asked. "We tell the truth. Our truth. The real story of how we fell in love." He paused. "But Sky, I need you to be sure. Once we do this, there's no taking it back. Everyone will know everything. Can you handle that?" Could I? The thought of laying our relationship bare for everyone to judge, to analyze, to comment on. It was terrifying. But the alternative was letting Sabrina's lies stand. Was letting people think I'd manipulated Rowan, that what we had wasn't real. And I couldn't do that. "I'm sure," I said. "Let's tell them the truth, okay?" Rowan said, and I could hear the relief in his voice. "I'm coming to get you. We're doing this together." 20 minutes later, we were sitting in his car, parked in my driveway, writing out our statement. We decided to post it as a joint message on both our accounts. And this time, we didn't hold anything back. We told them how it started. Yes, as a fake relationship. We admitted that I'd had a crush on Derek, that Rowan had wanted to get rid of his admirers, that we'd made a deal. But then we told them what happened after. How the mate bond had appeared when we first touched. How we'd tried to ignore it, tried to stick to the plan. How we'd slowly fallen in love, despite our best efforts not to. We told them about stolen moments in Rowan's study, about learning to see past the surface animosity to the people underneath. About realizing that what we thought was hate had always been something else. Awareness? Attraction, destiny trying to manifest. We told them that yes, it was unconventional. Yes, it started as a lie. But what we had now was the most real, true, honest thing either of us had ever felt. And we told them that we didn't care what anyone thought. that we were together, truly together, and we weren't apologizing for it. Ready? Rowan asked, his finger hovering over the post button. I took his other hand, lacing our fingers together. Ready. He posted it. Within minutes, the comments started rolling in, and to my shock, most of them were positive. This is actually really sweet. NGL, I'm kind of jealous. Finding your mate through a fake relationship. That's like a romance novel. Sabrina's post made it seem so much worse than it actually is. They're mates. That changes everything. Okay, but the way Rowan has been looking at Sky all these weeks makes so much sense now. Of course, there were negative comments too. People calling us liars, saying we were just trying to save face. But the overwhelming response was supportive. Even Chelsea, who'd been pursuing Rowan for months, commented, I get it now. Mate bonds are serious. Good luck to you both. Look at this, Rowan said, showing me his phone. It was a post from Derek. My brother and Sky have my full support. Yeah, the beginning was weird, but I've watched them together. That's real love. Anyone who can't see that is blind. Leave them alone. I stared at it, tears pricking my eyes. Derek, sweet, oblivious Derek who I'd spent years pining after, was defending us. He's a good guy, Rowan said softly. Even if he's not the right guy for you. No, I agreed, looking at Rowan. You're the right guy for me. You always were. I just had to figure it out. He kissed me then, gentle and sweet, and I felt the mate bond sing with contentment. We weren't out of the woods yet. Sabrina would probably try something else. Some people would never accept us, and there would be whispers and judgment for a while. But we'd face it together, because that's what mates did. Chapter 8. Prom and Promises. The weeks following our confession were a whirlwind. Sabrina, furious that her plan had backfired, tried to do damage control. She posted a tearful video claiming she'd only been trying to expose the truth, that she'd been worried about Rowan being manipulated. But by then, most people had seen through her act. The general consensus was that she was a jealous newcomer, trying to break up a mated pair, something that was considered deeply taboo in werewolf culture. Her popularity plummeted almost overnight. The cheerleading squad quietly asked her to leave, and the friend group she'd inserted herself into began excluding her. By the third week, she'd transferred to a different school, unable to handle the social isolation. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired and grateful that it was over. Rowan and I were stronger than ever. We'd stopped hiding anything. Our relationship, our feelings, our mate bond, and surprisingly, being open about everything made life so much easier. People stopped whispering when we walked by. Our friends accepted us completely. Even the teachers seemed relieved that the drama had finally died down. I can't believe prom is in 2 weeks, Mara said one afternoon, as we browsed dresses online in my room. Have you and Rowan talked about what you're wearing? He wants to match, I said, smiling at the memory of his insistence that we coordinate our colors. Very traditional alpha male behavior. It's cute, Mara said. You've made him soft, I laughed. He's not soft. He's still the same arrogant, bossy alpha he's always been. He just lets me see beneath it now. That's love, babe. Mara clicked on a dress, a beautiful deep blue that would look stunning with her dark coloring. What color are you thinking? I'd been avoiding thinking about prom too much, worried that something would go wrong, that somehow this happiness would be snatched away. But looking at dresses with Mara, imagining dancing with Rowan under twinkling lights, I let myself get excited. Maybe silver, I said, pulling up a dress that caught my eye. It was floor length, with delicate beading across the bodice and a flowing skirt. Or this one in gold. The gold, Mara said immediately. It'll look amazing with your skin tone. And Rowan's eyes. She was right. The dress was perfect. Elegant, but not too formal, with just enough sparkle to be special. I'm ordering it, I decided, adding it to my cart before I could second guess myself. That night, Rowan came over for dinner. A regular occurrence now that my mother had accepted that we were serious. She'd been skeptical at first, remembering all the years of animosity between us. But one conversation with Rowan, where he'd respectfully asked permission to court her daughter. His words, which had made me roll my eyes even as my heart melted, had won her over completely. "You're glowing," Rowan murmured as we sat on my porch after dinner, his arm around me, my head on his shoulder. "I'm happy," I said simply. "Happier than I've ever been." "Me too." He pressed a kiss to my temple. "Though I'll be happier once prom is over, and we can stop fielding questions about what we're wearing and what song we're dancing to." I laughed. "You're the one who wanted to coordinate outfits." "Because I want everyone to know you're mine," he said, unashamed. "Is that so wrong?" "It's very possessive alpha of you." "You love it." He wasn't wrong. I did love it. Loved how open he was about his feelings, how he never hid his affection for me, how he touched me like I was precious whenever we were together. "I ordered my prom dress today," I told him. "Gold. It matches your eyes." Rowan's smile was soft. "Can't wait to see it. Though I'm sure you'll be beautiful in anything." "Smooth talker." "Only for you." He tilted my chin up, kissing me with a tenderness that made my toes curl. "Have I told you lately that I love you?" "Not in the last hour," I teased. "Then I'm slacking. I love you, Sky Moonridge. More than I thought it was possible to love anyone." "I love you too," I whispered against his lips. We sat there as the sun set, talking about everything and nothing. Plans for after graduation, pack politics. Whether we'd go to the same college or make long-distance work. The future stretched out before us, full of possibilities and challenges and adventures. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of it. Prom night arrived faster than I expected. I stood in front of my mirror, barely recognizing myself. The gold dress fit perfectly, hugging my curves before flowing into an elegant skirt. Mara had done my makeup. Subtle but striking, with gold eyeshadow that brought out the green in my eyes. My dark hair was swept up in an elegant updo, with a few tendrils framing my face. "You look like a princess," my mother said from the doorway, tears in her eyes. "Mom, don't cry. You'll make me cry, and then my makeup will be ruined." "I can't help it. My baby girl is all grown up." She came over and hugged me carefully. "Rowan's a lucky young man." "I'm the lucky one," I said honestly. The doorbell rang and my heart leapt. Rowan was here. I took a deep breath and headed downstairs, where my mother was already greeting him. But I barely heard their exchange, too focused on the sight of Rowan in his tuxedo. He looked devastating. The black suit was perfectly tailored, with a gold vest and tie that matched my dress exactly. His dark hair was styled, though I could already see him fighting the urge to run his hands through it. And when he saw me, his expression transformed into something so full of awe and love that I had to blink back tears. "Sky," he breathed, moving toward me like he was in a trance. God, you're stunning. You clean up pretty well yourself," I said, my voice not quite steady. He took my hand, and the familiar spark of the mate bond jumped between us. But instead of just holding my hand, he lifted it to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles that was so old-fashioned and romantic that my mother actually sighed. "Shall we?" he asked, offering his arm. "We shall." I agreed, linking my arm through his. After 1,000 photos, my mother insisted, then Rowan's parents, who'd shown up to document the occasion. We finally made it to Rowan's Mercedes. "I have something for you," Rowan said before starting the car. He pulled out a small box, and my heart stuttered. Rowan. It's not what you think, he said with a smile. Open it. Inside was a delicate gold bracelet with a small charm. A tiny wolf howling at the moon. It's beautiful, I whispered. It's a promise, Rowan said, taking it out and fastening it around my wrist. That no matter what happens, college, distance, life, I'm yours. Always. I looked up at him, tears threatening to ruin my makeup. I'm yours too. Always. He kissed me then, soft and sweet, before pulling back with visible effort. We should go before I decide to skip prom entirely and just spend the evening kissing you. That doesn't sound terrible, I admitted. Later, he promised. After we've made an appearance and danced, and done all the normal prom things. Then I'm taking you to our overlook, and I'm kissing you until dawn. The promise sent heat through me. Deal. Silverwood High's gym had been transformed. Twinkling lights hung from the ceiling, creating a canopy of stars. The decorating committee had gone with a enchanted forest theme, complete with artificial trees, flowers, and a dance floor that looked like it belonged in a fairy tale. As Rowan and I walked in hand, conversations stuttered and heads turned. But this time, the attention didn't feel malicious. People smiled at us, called out greetings, complimented our outfits. Sky! Rowan! Over here. Mara waved from where she stood with Marcus and the rest of our friend group. She looked gorgeous in her deep blue dress, and Marcus couldn't seem to take his eyes off her. You two look amazing, Chelsea said, and she seemed to mean it. She'd come with Tyler, and they looked happy together. Seriously, that dress is perfect on you, Sky. Thanks, I said, meaning it. You look beautiful, too. We chatted for a while, but I was hyper-aware of Rowan beside me, his hand at the small of my back, his scent surrounding me. The mate bond was singing, urging us closer, and I could feel his wolf responding to mine. Dance with me, he murmured in my ear. I let him lead me to the dance floor, just as a slow song started. His arms wrapped around me, pulling me close, and I rested my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. This is perfect, I said softly. Almost, Rowan replied. It'll be perfect once I get you alone. I laughed, tipping my head back to look at him. Impatient alpha. Only with you? His eyes were warm, full of love and desire and promises of later. You've ruined me, Sky Moonridge. I used to be so controlled, so focused. And then you came into my life and turned everything upside down. In a good way. In the best way. He pressed his forehead to mine in that gesture that had become ours. You're my everything. You know that, right? You're my everything too, I whispered. We swayed together, lost in our own world, and I felt completely, perfectly happy. Then I saw Derek. He was standing at the edge of the dance floor, watching us with an expression I couldn't quite read. He'd come to prom with a date, a nice girl from his class at the community college, but his attention was on us. When he saw me looking, he smiled and headed over. Mind if I cut in? He asked Rowan. I felt Rowan tense beside me, his possessive alpha instincts immediately on alert. Actually, it's okay, I said softly, touching Rowan's arm. I'll be right back. Rowan looked like he wanted to argue, but he nodded and stepped aside, though he didn't go far. I could feel him watching as Derek took his place. You look really happy, Derek said as we started to dance. I am, I said honestly. I'm glad. He paused. I owe you an apology, Sky. I spent so long not really seeing you, even though you were right there. By the time I realized what I'd been missing, it was too late. You were already Rowan's. I was always Rowan's, I said gently. I just didn't know it yet. Derek smiled. Yeah. The mate bond kind of makes things inevitable, doesn't it? It does. I glanced over at Rowan, who was standing with Marcus but keeping his eyes on me. Derek, can I ask you something? Sir, are you okay with this? Really? Your brother and the girl who used to have a crush on you? Derek laughed. Honestly, I'm relieved. I always knew I wasn't the right guy for you. Even when you were looking at me with those big, hopeful eyes. You deserved someone who'd look back with the same intensity. Someone who'd fight for you, challenge you, love you with everything they had. He nodded toward Rowan. That's him. Not me? Thank you, I said softly, for understanding and for being so kind about everything. Of course. You're family now, right? Once you and Rowan make it official. Make it official. The words sent a thrill through me. Because that's where we were heading. Toward mating ceremonies and pack bonds and forever. The song ended, and Derek stepped back. Take care of my brother, okay? He acts tough, but he's got a soft heart. Especially when it comes to you. I will, I promised. Rowan was there immediately, his arms sliding around my waist, pulling me back against his chest. Everything okay? Everything's perfect, I said, leaning into him. We danced a few more songs, laughed with our friends, took silly photos in the photo booth. It was everything prom was supposed to be. Magical, memorable, fun. But as the night wore on, I found myself wanting something else. Wanting to be alone with Rowan, away from the crowds and the noise and the expectations. Can we go? I whispered to him during another slow song. His eyes darkened with understanding. Thought you'd never ask. We made our excuses to our friends, grabbed our things, and slipped out into the cool night air. The parking lot was quieter now, most people still inside enjoying the dance. Rowan opened the car door for me like the gentleman he secretly was, then climbed into the driver's seat and headed toward our overlook. The drive was quiet, but it was a comfortable silence, full of anticipation and promise. When we arrived at the overlook, Rowan came around and opened my door, helping me out like I was something precious. The view was breathtaking. Silverwood spread out below us, lights twinkling like earthbound stars. The moon was full, hanging heavy and bright in the sky, and I felt my wolf stir in response. Beautiful, Rowan murmured, but he was looking at me, not the view. Smooth talker, I said, but I was smiling. Come here, he said, pulling me into his arms. We stood there for a long moment, just holding each other, breathing in sync, hearts beating together. The mate bond was so strong now that I could feel everything he was feeling. Love. Desire, contentment, joy. Sky, Rowan said softly. I know we're young. I know we have college ahead of us, and pack responsibilities, and 1,000 things that could make this complicated. But I need you to know something. What? He pulled back slightly, cupping my face in his hands. You're it for me, my one and only, my true mate. And when we're ready, when we've finished school and established ourselves, I'm going to ask you to be my mate officially. To bond with me completely, to stand beside me as alphas of whatever pack we build together. My breath caught. Rowan! You don't have to answer now, he said quickly. This isn't a proposal. Not yet. I needed you to know where my heart is. Where it's always going to be. With me, I whispered. Always with you. I kissed him then, pouring everything I felt into it. All my love, my certainty. My hope for our future. And he kissed me back with equal passion, his hands gentle but sure, his body warm against mine. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. For the record, I said, my voice husky, when you do ask me officially, the answer will be yes. It's always been yes, even when I didn't know it yet. Rowan's smile was brilliant. Yeah. I traced his jawline with my finger. You're my mate, Rowan Ashclaw. My partner, my love, my future. And I can't wait to see what we build together. He kissed me again, softer this time, reverent. I love you so much it scares me sometimes. I love you too. More than I thought it was possible to love anyone. We stayed there for hours, talking and kissing and planning our future. We talked about college, how we'd both applied to schools in the area so we could stay close. About combining our packs eventually, creating something new and strong. About the pups we might have someday, with my determination and his strategic mind. And we talked about the journey that had brought us here, from enemies to fake lovers to true mates. Do you ever regret it? I asked as we sat on the hood of his car, wrapped in his jacket against the cool night air. The fake relationship, all the drama with Sabrina. Not for a second. Rowan said immediately. Because it brought us here. It gave us the chance to see past the walls we'd built, to recognize what we were to each other. He paused. Though I do regret not being honest with you from the start. Not telling you that I'd loved you since kindergarten. Why didn't you? He was quiet for a moment. Because I was afraid. Afraid that if you knew, you'd reject me completely. That we'd never even get to be friends. He laughed softly. Turns out, the fake relationship was the only way I could get you to give me a chance. And look how that turned out, I said, snuggling closer to him. Best decision I ever made, he murmured, pressing a kiss to the top of my head. As the sky began to lighten with the first hints of dawn, Rowan finally drove me home. He walked me to my door, kissed me good night, or good morning, with a tenderness that made my heart ache. I'll pick you up tomorrow, he said. We can spend the whole day together. Just us. I'd like that, I said softly. I watched him drive away, then headed inside, unable to stop smiling. My mother was waiting in the kitchen with tea, wanting to hear all about prom. I told her about the dancing, the photos, the time with friends, but I saved the most important parts for myself. Rowan's promise, our plans, the certainty that we'd found something rare and precious. As I finally crawled into bed, exhausted but happy, I touched the bracelet on my wrist. Rowan's promise that he was mine, always. And I thought about how strange life was. How the boy I'd hated for years had turned out to be my perfect match. How a fake relationship had led to the most real love I'd ever known. I'd spent years pining after the wrong brother, building up fantasies about someone I didn't really know. But fate, or the moon goddess, or just dumb luck, had given me exactly what I needed. Not the perfect, kind, uncomplicated love I'd imagined with Derek, but the messy, passionate, challenging, absolutely perfect love I'd found with Rowan. My enemy, my fake boyfriend, my true mate, my everything. Epilogue. 5 years later, I stood in the backyard of the house Rowan and I had bought together, watching as pack members mingled at our celebration. We'd officially combined our packs last month, merging the Moonridge and Ashclaw families into something new and stronger. The ceremony had been beautiful, traditional and meaningful, with both our mothers crying happy tears as we'd exchanged our vows and completed the mating bond. Now, I wore Rowan's mark on my neck, and he wore mine. We were bound completely, irrevocably, forever. There you are, Rowan said, sliding his arms around me from behind. I've been looking for you. Just taking a moment, I said, leaning back against him. It's overwhelming sometimes. All of this. Good overwhelming. The best overwhelming. I turned in his arms to look at him. 5 years had only made him more handsome. His features sharper, his confidence deeper. His love for me written in every glance. We'd both graduated from college. Me with a degree in business administration, him in political science. We'd navigated long distance for 2 years when he'd studied abroad. Then come back stronger than ever. We'd faced challenges and disagreements, pack politics and family drama. But through it all, We'd had each other. Your mom's asking about grandpups again, Rowan said with a smile. I laughed. Of course she is. What did you tell her? That we're working on it? His hand splayed across my stomach, warm and possessive. Though I wouldn't mind if we succeeded sooner rather than later. Heat flooded through me. Rowan Ashclaw, are you saying you want to start a family? With you. Always. He kissed me softly. But only when you're ready. We have time. We have forever, I corrected. Forever, he agreed. I saw Mara across the yard, laughing with Marcus. They'd gotten together our senior year of high school and had recently gotten engaged. Derek was there too with his mate Sarah, their 1-year-old daughter toddling between them. Even Chelsea had come, happily mated to Tyler, both of them successful in their respective careers. Everyone had found their place, their happiness. Do you ever think about how we started? I asked Rowan. The fake relationship, the drama, all of it. All the time, he said. And every time I'm grateful for it. Because it brought us here. To our combined pack. To our life together. He pulled me closer. I love you, Sky Ashclaw. I still got a thrill hearing my new name. I love you too. As the sun set over our land, over our pack, over the life we'd built together, I thought about the journey that had brought us here. From enemies to fake lovers to true mates. From hate to love. From pretend to forever. It had been messy and complicated and absolutely perfect. Just like us. Author's note. Give me a wolf emoji in the comments below if you want another dreamy werewolf shifter romance. And hit the subscribe button to join our dark circle. You don't want to miss the full moon. See you in the next story.